road and they've moved off. So we're going to go around the block, see if they come out, and then obviously try and narrow our search if the tracks do not come out. Brent says he was here this morning and didn't find tracks here, so it's possible these tracks are quite fresh from this morning. Who knows how long ago. But while we go in search of these leopard tracks, let's go back over to Tristan Dix, who is the leopard whisperer.
Well, Steve, you are on leopard tracks, and we've just found our own leopard tracks as well. There you go. You can see some sterling tracks, very, very fresh in the sand, and they have walked along here. Now, I'm trying to determine whether or not they're on top of Brent's tracks. It looks like they might be from this afternoon, so maybe we might find ourselves a leopard very, very close by. As Steve mentioned, my name is Tristan, and on camera I've got my leopard friend, cameraman Wiem the Wildebeest, and so that is why we are going to try and follow these leopard tracks as best we can and see where they go. Now, of course, we want to hear from all of you, so remember hashtag Safari Live on Twitter or the YouTube chat if you would like to get hold of us, or if you see anything on the dam cam through the course of the drive, or anything really. It's always just nice to hear from you guys and to have some good conversations. Good, well, let's not waste too much time. Let's try and get onto these tracks and get as quickly as we can. I'm still debating as to whether this is one of our young boys. It might just be that it could very well be Hosanna's track from during the day today. I believe he's gone towards, but they just look a bit small for him, so I'm a bit kind of on the fence about these. I'm not 100% sure whether it's one of the young boys, or maybe even Shadulu, because we know Shadulu has a large foot as well. So I'm just kind of trying to follow them as slowly as I can and try and see where they go. Now, they still seem to be on the road going straight southwards towards Sam's area, and we know that Hosanna can cover a huge amount of distance. Now, I am joined by not only Steve, but another male from the Safari Live team, so let's send you across to Brent Leo Smith so you can say.
Well, we have found the naughty boy, the little chief, Hosanna, having a little snooze. Now, of course, I would love to take credit for this, but we have to give credit where credit's due. Conrad found him today while he was doing technical stuff out and about. So he was on his way to fix something at Chitwa and spotted Hosanna. So well done, Conrad. My name is Brent Leo Smith. I have the one, the only, the Batman on camera with me today. And I'll try not to abuse him too much, but I can't promise. So our plan was actually to go pick up on and carry on the tracking of Kachava from where Taylor left her tracks this morning. But, you know, you can't really say no to Hosanna when he's just lying next to the road as you enter Chitwa. He's starting to look a little bit hungry. Not starving, but a little bit hungry. So I think what we'll do is we'll wait for the Chitwa vehicles to get out, and they can come here, and we can go see if we can track down Kachava and Cub. As Taylor said, pretty sure she's got a kill somewhere in that block if she's leading the Cub down. So it might just take a little bit of scratching around there, and we could have multiple leopards. And I really hope Tristan finds that those tracks that belong to the tracks he's tracking. We could have a big leopard afternoon, which is always great. And also it sounds like Steve's got tracks of hokomore crossing back from the north. So, and those tracks were on top of my tracks from morning safari. So it's looking like a spotted afternoon, and I know a lot of you are going to be quite happy with that fact. And of course the Nkuhumas are still lazing around Treehouse if we need them. Now, of course, tracking leopards is somewhat of an art. Diana, how do you tell between Thandi and Kachava's tracks? Well, Diana, it's in this case, Kachava's tracks are a little bit smaller than Thandi's, but Thandi's tracks are quite small. We're working on their current territories, and the fact of where those tracks were found is where Kuchava has been seen regularly over the last few months, and Tundi's moved her territory further to the northwest. So just generally we can work on areas. Sometimes we could be wrong. Maybe Tundi has come down south, but I think it's highly unlikely that Tundi, especially with Kalamba, would move that far away. Oh, you are a flat cat. You had a busy day, chasing things up and down, mister. And it doesn't look like you've managed to catch anything. It's a good spot to have a snooze. You never know when a baby waterbuck or impala might wander up. Now, Hassan has been living life on the edge. And Jocelyn, I too am happy that he is still safe after his near encounter with Hukumuri. Now, it is very dangerous for young male leopards of this age, and this is where they have a higher fatality rate than female leopards of about the same age. Oh, there we go. Hello, boy. Did the sun catch up with you? For those of you who weren't watching, tisk. Hello? Where are you going? Don't go that way. Yes, lie back down. We don't want him to go south. We're right on the boundary of Chitwa. We were following Hukumuri. Some impala started alarm calling at Hukumuri, and I think that attracted Hasana to come have a look at what, if there was potentially an easy meal to steal from Tundi. And, he's tired. He's a tired kitty. And instead of Tundi or Tingana or whoever he might have expected to find, he found Hukumuri. So he then snuck away. He was about 25 meters away from Hukumuri. And then silly boy decided he was going to climb a termite mound to go look at Hukumuri a bit closer. And then Hukumuri spotted him and started stalking him. And he managed to skedaddle south. And fortunately, Hukumuri lost his trail. Well, if he's lying that way, Craig, let's go across to the other side of the pan. Maybe we get a different view, rather than his back. Now, we've got sort of two of these wonderful young boys around at the moment, which is Tamba and Hosanna. Kirby, I have not heard any updates for Tamba. Oh no, I think I made a whoopsie, Craig. Not much of a better view from the opposite side of the pan if he's flat. But I haven't heard anything for about 7 or 8 days. And the last place he was seen was quite far to the south and to the west, on Shirley's, near the Londolozi boundary. But I haven't heard anything for the last little while. Noisy Birchall starling above me somewhere. Not the prettiest bird call around. Now, I'm hesitant to leave Hassan until another vehicle is here, because he is well known to do a disappearing act. And especially since one cloud comes over and the temperature drops, there's the soft footfall of an impala or the light snort of a baby waterbuck, and he could be up and at him and champing at the bit. Really, Starling? They definitely sound better at a distance. Now, when we were in the Mara, Craig, were you with me when the starlings were going nuts at Sila's camp? For some reason, for over a couple of weeks, there must have been, well, the East African equivalent of the Birchall starling, the Rupel starling. There must have been 50 of them in the tree above our tent every night making a noise. And when you're getting into bed at 3 a.m. or 4 a.m., it was quite quite irritating. You got a lovely little pan, and see what we can see in the pan. Now, we've got a cat already, but Steve and Tristan are working hard to find you some more, so let's get an update on how Steve's tracking is going.
Thanks very much. Yes, well done. Hosanna has managed to show himself to Brent. What a fortunate human being he is this afternoon. Hosanna is my favorite leopard. He is a good friend of mine, in fact, and I think he's just delaying seeing me. We were down in Chitwa this morning and we had some tech issues, and he realized if I can't go on air when Steve's here, then he doesn't want to come out. It's because you guys, and he loves you all too. That's the story. So he had to wait for Brent to come back, and there we go. The little chief, the prince, has revealed himself, and tracks have veered off into the block. And if you just have a look, not of Hosanna, obviously, he's got it. If you just have a look to the right, Ferg, just have a look at that. In the 10 days I've been away, look at the grass cover here. It has grown several more inches. So trying to follow a cat in there is very difficult. So I'm still following the road, seeing if any of the tracks come back onto the road. When a male leopard walks, you hopefully think it's going to walk in the road. But the way that he was walking there, he was putting his back foot on his front foot, which is a sort of element of stalking, silent walking. They'll often walk along a road like this with the wind cutting across them, then move in to a block like that in search of whatever food it is they're looking for. And that could be the case. It is a marvelously large block, but we might be lucky. Who knows? I'm no expert tracker, but I can put my nose to the ground when I need to, and we can put in the hard work when times arise. But fortunately, we have already got a leopard on the cards for the afternoon, which is marvelous. So we will continue on in our endeavor here and see if we can find any more activity of this male leopard coming out. I don't think so, Emma. I don't think leopards get lonely, but you know, I think Hosanna does, though, because he often comes out at the weirdest of times. I've been sitting on Chitwa Dam Wall with Dave earlier this year when we managed to actually capture Hosanna beautifully on Ronald. And if you don't know what Ronald is, it's a little radio control vehicle with a GoPro on it. And we were sitting on the dam wall, Dave and I were having chats. We had a few segments, and then lo and behold, Hosanna decided to join us. Oh my word, what is this here? This is a very cool bird. I don't know what it is. Everybody, oh, it looks like a young Deirdre's cuckoo, in fact. Let's go up, let's see if we can get it. Ferg, did you see it? The coloration wasn't complete. It was a juvenile. He's just landed in the bushes here. Looked like a juvenile Deirdre's or Klaas's cuckoo, which would fit. Which would fit. Hopefully we can get him here. That would be super exciting. Oh no, where did he go? Okay, well, that's why we've got apps and things that we can look at. Oh, I had an app. Here we go. He just disappeared into the bushes there, but it looked to me to be either a Deirdre's or a Klaas's cuckoo juvenile that just disappeared into the vegetation here. So let me go quickly have a look. There was almost golden on the back, like a sort of bronzy gold color. So I'm going to go with my first thought, Deirdre's cuckoo, and see if we can get it. Yes, look at the juvenile picture here. This is what I saw. That very golden sort of rusty, brassy color on the back. And it's not complete like the adults. It's still very barred. Absolutely marvelous. Let me just have a quick little look on my app. Sorry, maybe the other one has a very similar. Don't think so, though. That would be my first, yeah. That would be my first Deirdre's cuckoo baby, which I'm very excited about. I don't know if you managed to get that at all. Did you get it at all, Ferg? Sorry, folks, that is the world of birding out here, is that they come and they go. They come and they go. And beautiful rusty color. I've never seen that before. But it stood out so nicely. And just everything about the shape The cuckoos have got this sort of slightly recurved beak. They've got a very sort of similar sort of size, the smaller cuckoos. The larger cuckoos generally have a bit of a crest on their head and the tail is a bit longer. The cuckoos are. So that was marvelous. I'm super excited. I have no idea what was I talking about before I saw that. I have no idea. Oh, Hasana gets lonely. Yeah, Hasana, and he came and he sat with us. He walked up. He said hello to Ronald, who's his friend. He dismembered Ronald in the TV show or later on. And then he sat with us. So I think he gets lonely. He likes the company and the voices. I know that elephant bulls definitely get lonely. They definitely come towards us and they spend time near us and quite often obstruct the vehicle moving because they're just like, I just want some company, please, you know. So I hope that answers your question. Okay, well, let's go back to the little prince or the little chief himself to tell you his own story.
Well, he's popped his head up. As I said, you never know with Hasana. That's why I'm hesitant to leave him till I know there's another vehicle who's with him. Because he could do a disappearing act very quickly. Our little chief. He's in fact quite well known for his disappearing abilities. Do you hear that, Craig? Just a weird noise in the distance there. I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure exactly what it was. Let's listen out again. In the meantime, Hassan is just over 2 years old now, Gary. So I think he will probably move off within the next 6 months or so. But he's only going to be really big enough to try claim his own territory when he's about 4.5, 5 years old at the earliest, maybe even a little bit older. Unless he gets lucky, and finds an area that has a relatively low male density, or an area where, for example, the dominant male was suddenly killed by lions, or not killed by another leopard, because that would not be good for him, or killed by a hyena, or you never know. So unless he finds an area like that, it's going to be a couple of years still before he's going to be able to find a territory of his own. It's a tough time for young leopards as they get a little bit older than Hasana is now, and sometimes they move incredibly long distances to find an area for themselves. The crested barbet above us, far more pleasant than the starling that was there a bit earlier. Can't see him. He's right in the sun, Craig. Right in the sun. Oh, okay, I can't see the barbet. I just get blinded. But I'm very excited to see what's happening with Tristan in those tracks.
Well, we're still trying to figure it out. It's taking a little bit of time because I'm trying to work out, are they on top of Brent's tracks, which they very much look like they could be. So I'm just trying to think as to who this could be. So they're still coming down the road and kind of heading southwards, and then we lose them quite quickly. So they're still just on this tire track coming down in the middle of the road. Now, Brent's track is not this particular one, but there you can see the smooth section and the toes, and these tracks are fresh. The more I look at them, though, the more I don't think that this belongs to any one of our boys. This is a track that is smaller than what Hasana and Tumba's tracks are, and so it's confusing because it's not Tundi small, but maybe Shadulu. It's very possible that she's probably the only track that would match this particular size. So it's kind of one of those tracks now where it's a little bit in between. We'll just have to try and track them and see where they go. It might be Hasana's, and I'm just kind of having a bit of an off day, but to me they don't seem like a male's tracks, and Hasana's tracks definitely aren't this small. Andrew, there's, I suppose, a few things that sort of help with tracking of animals. And I'm just thinking to myself that Wiem and I just had a puff of dust coming across this road, and I just thought maybe something had chased something. But Andrew, when you kind of tracking animals, one of the best things to be doing is to use what's around you in the form of using other tracks and using weather conditions and those kind of things to determine how fresh tracks are, because ultimately that's where your starting point is. If tracks are not fresh, there's no point in following them, otherwise you're going to get nowhere. And so use weather conditions, use other animals. Are they daylight animals, nocturnal animals? Are the daylight animals on top? Is the animal you're tracking on top of those daylight animals? Then you know, okay, those are quite fresh. In the case of this particular track, we know that there's been no other animals on top of it, and so that means that they're fairly fresh. And then in terms of trailing animals, animals are sort of creatures of habit to a degree. So you'll have a situation where Hosana, Tumba, Tingana, Hukamuri, there's certain routes that they like to take. And so when you're tracking an animal, and if you know that these tracks, okay, are going to kind of cross through here, and you know that you're not right behind that because you're not hearing alarm calls, the best thing is to try and shoot ahead to where you know that they normally come out. And so you go to those kind of game paths, because remember that most of these animals will not just go off into a thicket and walk through a thicket. Generally, they get onto some sort of pathway, and they'll then follow that pathway through, if not a road itself. And so use pathways, use roads, follow those, and then pay attention to any sounds that you hear along the way, because tracking is not only about what you see with your eyes in terms of the footprints, it's also about what you're hearing around you. So as you walk along, you're going to pay attention to any birds, any squirrels, alarm calls from any other animals that will then give away the fact that you're getting closer. And like I say, you just keep going like that, and you sort of plod along, and you try and get yourself ahead of the tracks all the time, so that you can then work out exactly where that animal is and then close down the sort of net towards them. A lot of people make the mistake that they see tracks, they get so excited that they get onto them and they start walking, but that track could, and we know it with our leopards, and you see somebody like Hukamuri, he can cover massive amounts of distance in an hour, a single hour. So the point is to try and get the track, then go round, make sure it doesn't come out of the particular block that you're working, and then track it from there. And that's how we do it here in the Sabi Sands. Other places are a little different because you don't have the same road network or sort of pathway network. In those cases, you will have to go from track to track, and like I say, you'll use sort of freshness by using other animals, and then also any sort of sounds that you hear around them. Good. I'm going to quickly check where these tracks go. While I do that, let's send you back across to Steve and see how his tracking is going this afternoon.
Yes, and here we have found a very important animal in the diet of the leopards we are searching for. And this is a marvelous specimen with some enormous tusks. It's not too bothered at all. It's just walking along in the open clearing, though, mind you. Makes it a little bit easier to sort of keep your wits about you. It is a female, easily seen normally by the lack of the second set of warts on the face, but you can actually see the mammary glands towards the back of the belly there. But enormous tusks for this female. Really, really important for her sort of survival, because quite often just the look of the tusks is enough to deter a predator. Not always is the case, but the threat of those tusks disemboweling a predator is often what leads them to hesitate, just that moment it takes for the warthog to disappear. But as we can see, it's a grazer. It's got its head right down to the ground, and it's busy nibbling up quite short cropped grass. And they also feed on some seeds, and the warthogs have the ability to sort of nuzzle the grass and rip up the roots itself. Because what happens in the dry season, not that is happening now, but the dry season, the grasses have learnt, or they have the ability to take their nutrients into the soil as a defense against fire, and into the roots, and they will then resprout after fire. And the warthog has the ability to obviously nuzzle that out and feed on it, which is one of the reasons why warthogs in high numbers are actually a very destructive animal in the savanna biome, if they are kept unchecked. But with a healthy predator population, warthogs do their part. The disturbance that they play is important, but if there's too many of them, the disturbance can lead to severe overgrazing and erosion. Quite difficult to get right in on those tushes now, though. tusks. But what you'll notice if you can get in there is that she's got the top ones and then the lower ones, which every time she nibbles are sharpening against the base of the top ones. And those are the ones that are actually more dangerous. Very, very easily slice open tendons and veins. Let's see if we can see it. It's not very visible, is it, Ferg? But she is definitely a hungry piggy. Enjoying her grazing this afternoon in the heat of the day. And hopefully there's no leopard watching too close by. I think she knows it's too hot for that. Warthog is quite a favoured meat, Isle pig. Yes, indeed. There are lots of warthog eaten around the country. I know section rangers of the Kruger Park years ago used to really enjoy putting a warthog on the spit. A very, very nice meat. It's got a gamey sort of taste to it. It's not as fatty as normal pork, but it does have a nice sort of gamey taste to it, and is well flavoured or well enjoyed by meat eaters. Myself being a vegetarian, I have had warthog though back in the past, and it was quite nice. Lions, as we have seen, and leopards in the name of Hukumuri, think warthog is the bee's knees. Well, we're going to move on. We're continuing on. We haven't found any tracks coming through onto this open area. And so seeing as we are moving on, it looks like a cat by the name of Osana is moving too.
Well, he's been such a sneaky little boy. Which way are you going? He looked like he was coming this way. Now he's disappeared behind a bush again. It looked like he was just smelling. He could flop down again. What are you doing, mister? What are you doing? Keeping us guessing here. And you can see why I'm hesitant to leave Osana. There was a Franklin alarm calling at him. And I wonder if that Franklin's inside that bush. Beware, Craig. There might become a rocket Franklin in your direction. What's in there, boy? Now, apparently he's done this before with Tristan and pulled out a dead bird. Now, there was a live Franklin going at him a bit earlier. What are you doing, you silly cat? There's a thorns in there. That's a knob thorn. You're going to get your ears stuck. Yes. You're not giving up. No, we're not giving up. What are you doing? As you can see, he's a bit hungry, as I said. He's not starving by any means, but he could do with a nice plump impala or steenbokkie. Preferably not small, rotting carcasses of birds, Osana. Let's go catch something big. There's definitely something in there that's grabbed his interest. I mean, that's a knobthorn he's going in there. Leopards and lions, what has he got? Has he got something? No. Drool regularly, Catherine. It's not a sign of illness at all. What are you doing? Sometimes a sign of hunger. Sometimes they're just they drool when they're about to have territorial fights or salivate when they come into contact with other leopards. But it is not a sign of illness. And there's something in those thorns there. And I mean, that is a knobthorn tree that has been absolutely smashed by elephants. And so that's a very thorny little thicket he's trying to crawl into. Silly kitty. You're going to give up now? Now, leopards are incredibly adaptable. There could have even been some tiny little ground nesting birds' eggs, like quail eggs, whatnot, or in there, or Franklin eggs for that matter, that he might have already just scoffed when we couldn't see. As nice as it would be, Sarah, I don't think he recognizes my voice. It would be nice if he did, but I don't think he does. Don't go that way. Yes, that way. Go the way you're looking. If he goes straight in that direction, unfortunately, that little stump he's about to walk past there, is the boundary. No, Hasana, no. He might change his mind. This is Hasana. Come on. Well, he might turn back. We're just going to have to keep parallel to him. He's going straight south, or straight southwest, far away from us. And thorns, leopards can get wounded by thorns, but their skin is quite tough, Senak, but it is possible. I'll try stick with him on Gary Main. Okay, Hosanna, now you're going to keep me guessing. I just want to sit here where I can see him for as long as possible. You see anything there, Craig? No. Silly little Hosanna. I can still see him disappearing. I'll just see if I can get hold of my brother. Dylan. Any station in the east copy. So he's heading, you can just see his movement now. He's heading just to the right of that termite mound. You got him there, Craig? No, if you come out to the right, through there. A little bit more to the right. Keep going. There. Well, if he keeps in that direction, that's not too bad for us. Hello, Floyd. Yes, unfortunately, we can't cross over that area. It is outside of our traverse. We traverse Juma and Chitwa. Unfortunately, we do not have traverse on that property, but it looks like he might come back to Chitwa. Sorry, Craig. So we're just going to keep... So the boundary is actually another 15 meters from me here. And if he keeps coming back this way, that's grand for us. You got him, Craig? Yes, I got him. Okay, perfect. He is heading in a great direction for us. All depends what he does at the next road junction. Okay, I'm going to scoot around to wait for him to come through. And while I do that, let's go see how Steve's tracking of what is most likely Hukumuri is going.
Hukumuri. I wonder. We're now on the northern sort of boundary with Buffelshoek, which is on our left. Juma's on our right. We had the tracks coming in over here, just up ahead onto this next road. And we went all the way around. Nothing's come out on any of those roads. So, and it's very thick in there. So likely it could be him. He could be in there on a kill. He could have walked all the way through the block without us even seeing him. It's very, very hard to know. Very hard to know. But we're going to move on from the area now, and we're going to move towards Buffelshoek Dam, have a look, maybe find some elephants in the area, and then slowly, as it starts to get cooler, we're going to make our way back to the Unkuhuma Pride that we left this morning. I'm sure with this heat and then with their full bellies, they are not going to be too far from where we left them. So I'm sure that'll be a nice way to sort of end the show. And I believe Husana is kind of coming back towards Juma, which would be great. Maybe then I can go and see him tomorrow. Ferg, tomorrow? That would be great. But still, we are still having a look. Any tracks coming in and out. It's always nice to drive slowly along these roads. You never know. All the termite mounds, as we've seen before, leopards stalking on them, or a kill in a tree, a leopard sort of dangling, or a lion just lying in the road. These things happen. These things happen. And if you don't look, you shall not find. Unique, you'd like to know, and the answer to your question is yes. Lions and leopards both will go up to dung, elephant dung, rhino dung, and roll in it and cover their faces in it. It's quite a pungent smell. And if you've ever smelt a leopard or lion up close, they are quite revolting. They need to get some cologne. Thinking maybe we should put together a gift package for all the birthdays, or Christmas, next Christmas, for all our lions and leopards, because they don't smell very nice, and maybe that'll help them in their hunting. And that is why they do it. They like to roll in elephant dung, fresh rhino dung. I haven't seen them roll in any other dung that I can think of, but they love to just get right in there. I've seen it with zebra dung as well, only once, and that covers and masks that scent. And the fetid, rotting smell that they carry around with them is often what gives them away. If the wind picks up and blows in a certain direction, these animals' noses are twitching, and they are very, very attuned to that smell. I actually many times in the past have smelt the presence of lions or leopards, and when you track them and you know you're quite close behind, you can find where they've been lying down, and that smell is still on the ground. And our sense of smell is nowhere near as keen as those of most of the animals out here. They need it for survival. And the slightest whiff of a predator in the air is enough to startle all of these animals. Okay, so I believe Tristan is back on his vehicle. Let's go over to him for an update.
Oh, yeah, we're following tracks, and we can't find where they go once they cut off from Twin Dams. They kind of cut off in a southwesterly direction, almost towards the elephant carcass. So if anybody's been watching the elephant carcass cam, maybe you know if a leopard is showing up at some point during the day there today, because the tracks look fairly good. Otherwise, they're not on top of Brent's tracks. I double checked. They are underneath Brent's tracks. So it's kind of from during the middle of the day, really, that this leopard has walked around. And we checked in the drainage line. There's lots of warthogs and impalas and duiker and franklins, which I gave everyone a heart attack when I went tropping around and traipsing around through there. So it's a situation where I don't think this leopard is right here, but it might have moved towards the sort of elephant carcass and then carried on towards Weaver's Nest. That's what I'm thinking. So we're going to just double check now and go around in a circle to check the block and make 100% sure that nobody actually was here or left this area. So, Minamu, I'm sure they do recognize that it is their siblings, but you must remember that as soon as a leopard goes territorial or goes on its own direction, it then becomes sort of an individual, and so even if it's got a sibling, it's not going to tolerate its sibling. It's not going to allow its sibling to come and make friends and take it easy and kill the food in its area and drink the water and mate with the females if it's boys, or kind of take over and have den sites if it's girls. So you have a situation where even though they're siblings, they probably do recognize each other through scent, but that doesn't mean that they tolerate each other. They get to a point where they know that they need to kind of keep others at bay and make sure that everybody else stays away, and they can then utilize the area for themselves. So that's the situation. Exactly. So Nikki is just referring to when Tundi and Shadow had a little altercation a few months ago, and they were snarling and hissing and kind of going at each other and trying to kind of push each other away. So they don't really tolerate each other, even though they're siblings, and they probably can smell that they're siblings, but they just won't tolerate each other at all. Now I'm trying to go towards the carcass, not because I think anything's on the carcass, but you never know. Leopards are curious animals, and so sometimes they'll come and investigate, and then they just lie somewhere close by and they just have a little look around and check. So that's what we're busy doing at the moment, and just double checking. But the track definitely does not look like Tumbers or Hosanna's to me. I mean, it seems as though it's much smaller than either of those two boys, which begs the question as to who exactly this belongs to. But there's no leopard I can see on any mounds here. You can see the carcass is devoid of any vultures. They've pretty much left this now alone. There's not much kind of meat left on it. It's a bit of dry skin here and there, and there's a little bit of meat on the trunk and around the tusk area, but that's about it. But it's now you can see that how badly that jaw broke and how it kind of came off, and it's now lying on its own, and you can also now see the teeth, which is really, really cool. So you can see that there's two sets of teeth there actually. So the first set is there's a break in them if you have a look. So that's the first set that's now being pushed out by the row of teeth coming at the back, and it's like a train track set basically, that as the ones start to wear, they get pushed from behind and they then fall out of the mouth, and so the front ones are still there. Now it's very, very cool to see, because you don't often get to see it often from obviously the fact that our elephants' mouths are normally shut and you can't actually see inside there. But there you can see quite clearly the division between those front sort of three ridges, and then you've got the rest of the teeth at the back coming forward. So that gives you an idea of what I'm talking about. So as they wear, so the others start to come forward and push those ones out, which is very, very cool. What you can also see from this now is just how deep that tusk dug into the ground when it died. So there you go. You can see that tusk was pretty much buried up into the lip with the force that this poor elephant fell down onto the ground. Crazy, isn't it? Amazing to see. Now, I'm going to double check around here and just see maybe this leopard is lingering somewhere in this area. And while we do that, let's send you back across to Brent and the beautiful and curious Hosanna.
Well, we can't really see him. Is he coming this way, Craig? I can't see. Sort of behind the bush. Let me try and go back forward, Craigie. As I say, he's flirting with the boundary. He could still come back in. You see anything, Craigo? So we're just waiting. My brother is on his way now. So they can keep up with him, and if he does come back onto Chitwa, he can call me straight back. Now, hold this on. Where my binoculars stop? Let's just have a look if I can see a flick of a tail or an ear. He's definitely hungry and he's definitely hunting. So he could zigzag a lot. Okay, I'm going to try find Hosanna again. While we do that, let's go across to Steve, who's out of his vehicle for some reason.
Thanks, sir. I hope you come right with the tracks there, Trist. I stopped on the side of the road because I think this is really, really special. We've got some elephant dung. You can see it quite clearly in my hand, and it's only a few days old. It is quite dry, to be honest, but a little bit moist inside, so 3 days at the most. But what I find super sensational is if you have a look at all of these piles along the pathway here, that is termites that are turning this elephant dung, bits and pieces just like that are lying on the side of the road. They're covering them in soil and they are slowly breaking them down in their place where they sit. And as they break them down, they'll then take those sugars and nutrients back down into the chamber under the ground. I think that is so cool how quickly this is happening. And yes, it's just on the road. So what happens out there in the bush, in the wilderness, is completely dynamic. And even here on the side of the road where elephants have defecated, this nutrients will be recycled back into the correct channels of the nutrients. But another thing I saw when I stopped over here, and I'm going to take it off the branch here. I'll put it back on the branch, on the grass. Sorry. Can you see that, Ferg? It is a marvelously big and disgusting looking tick. Do you need me to bring it closer? Okay, I'll come put it on the dash. I don't think it's going to harm me. Put it on the dashboard there. And that is a 4-legged on each side. So that is an adult tick. Ticks, when they are nymphal stage, still have 3 pairs of legs. And this has got 6. 1, 2, 3. Sorry, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4 pairs. Look at the coloration. And if I blow on him, this is what ticks do, which is quite amazing, is that they can live on the end of a grass stalk for a couple of weeks and just wait there for some unassuming animal to walk past. And generally when the animal moves, let's see if he responds to my carbon dioxide. Did we get a reaction? We got a little bit of one. A little bit of one. But what they can do is, that's called questing, is they're out there on the end of the branch looking for an animal, and they can actually take out this sort of, what do you call it, a sack of moisture out of their mouth, and it absorbs the moisture in the atmosphere, and then they can absorb it back in, which allows them to be able to drink without having to leave where they are sort of hanging on the thing. Okay, well, we're going to move on quickly with our tick, and we're going to have got Tristan, who's monkeying around.
Well, we do have a vervet monkey that's all by itself, that's sitting in this massive torchwood tree, and this poor monkey looks like it's had a really tough time of it. Something has had a full go at this monkey and has absolutely gashed it and torn it up. Now, I think it's had a territorial dispute, because if you look at it turn its face, it's got missing a whole chunk of its lip, and its jaw sort of looks as though there's a bit of an injury there. If you have a look there, it's kind of missing a whole big chunk out of its sort of, it looks like lower jaw, and the teeth are actually showing. And then on its back, it has the most massive gash. You can't see it now, but there where that fur is a little bit out of alignment, it's a massive pink spot on the back itself. So I think that this poor monkey has been manhandled maybe by one of the dominant individuals within a troop. It's also sitting all on its own and is not moving at all. Now, normally monkeys, when we drive past, scurry about the trees, and this guy doesn't seem like he's moving too much at all. Kind of seems as though he's a bit lethargic and slow about what's going on. And so any injury towards the back area can often be a bit of an uncomfortable one. But you can see the mouth itself is completely kind of devoid of flesh around the actual sort of area there. It's difficult to see, but the leaves kind of blow in the way, but every now and then there's a little gap that you can actually see the teeth coming down. So normally injuries around the mouth like that and around the back area are indicative of a dominant male getting hold of this monkey and fighting with him. And so he's probably had a bit of a tough time of it. You can see now that wound on the face will heal, even though it's probably very sore. That will heal, and that monkey will be okay, and he's going to look quite hardcore if he survives this. But you can see he's kind of looking around the tree and checking about, and unfortunately I think it's going to be, a hard road for this monkey, especially if it does not have a troop. If it's been cast out and it's now on its own, it looks like a young male as well, and it's kind of just lying on the branch now and just hiding away from where we are at the moment, which is a bit sad. And so I don't know if this monkey's feeling very well at all. I don't think so. I think it's just found itself a spot to try and just kind of heal up and maybe just kind of rest and stay away from us and from predators that might be around. You'll have to be very careful, because this is an area where we see Hosanna moving around quite a lot, and Hosanna would definitely probably go for a monkey and eat that if he can get hold of it. I'm sure that monkey's still got a bit of kind of life in it, that it's able to at least get up into the tree. We watched it go quite high up. It doesn't seem like, which is nice when you see an animal kind of on its own like that and injured. It's always quite sad, particularly animals like monkeys, because they have these kind of emotion in their eyes. Right, we are apparently being attacked by technical issues, and so before they jump on board too quickly, let's send you back across to Steve.
Thanks very much. Apologies for the gremlins there, folks, but we have spotted a beautiful bird that is going to be migrating very soon if it is able to build up enough condition, and it appears to be either a female or a juvenile redback shrike. Look how beautifully scalloped that chest is. It might even be a female juvenile, because it's not quite the reddish color on the shoulders, but the very scalloped chest you see there, and it lacks a little bit more white around the eye that I'd expect for the female, but possibly a juvenile that's coming in to become a mature female, but would have been quite newly born, well, breeding up in the north and then coming down, so it would have been from a few months back. They've spent the entire summer here. They've been thoroughly enjoying, and we've got a cuckoo just there. Can you see him? And we've got a cuckoo that's landed right here, and this is a typical type of cuckoo. Black, long tail, crest on the head. Let's see if it's got a white chest or it's got a streaky black chest, because it's either a Levalence cuckoo. Yes, it is. You see the white and black stripes on the chest? If the chest was completely white, I would call it a Jacobin cuckoo. Easy to remember. Levalence, lions. Lion cuckoo. Levalence cuckoo. He was a naturalist years ago. And you see how it's lacking the red. Not the red, but the complete white on the outer tail as well. I think this might be a juvenile Levalence cuckoo that's preparing for its migration back north. How marvelous is this? All the juveniles that we're spotting. Didn't quite look as fully formed as an adult should look. But there we go. The redback shrike still sits in there. How accommodating you are being for us. Fantastic. A lot of people get confused when they find this bird, because it's got that very large looking eye. A lot of people think it might be a flycatcher, but there's no flycatcher with a scalloped chest. You get streaks on the chest, but I've never seen any scalloping, and the beak is quite strong. It's quite a strong beak. If you look at that, it's a typical shrike beak with that sharp little hook on the end. Flycatchers have got very dainty sort of beaks. They're not designed for really doing too much damage to larger insects. And it's showing us the damage that it can do with its beak. Ninamu. The national bird of South Africa is the blue crane, which we do not find up in this area. It occurs down in the southern parts of the country. I will find it for you. It is a very beautiful bird. Very beautiful bird. And it is a very large bird as well. And I will show it to you on my app. We're being so nicely obliged by this bird. It's almost not very nice to move away. Hello. I think he fancies you, Ferg. She. Can you see that hook on the tip of the beak now? Beautiful. Beautiful. You see the toes, 3 toes forward and 1 back. Typical of the passerine species, which means that passerine meaning perching bird. By them sitting back on their haunches actually clamps the feet, which enables these birds to fall asleep in a tree without falling. For example, when we relax, if we squeeze our fist as tight as possible, when we relax into sleep, our wrist opens. But with birds, the more they relax, the more that grip on the feet actually tightens, which allows them to hold onto the branch. I hope you're all taking some marvelous screenshots, because this is the nicest sighting I think I've had of this marvelous bird. Here he goes. How obliging. Okay, well, first here we've got for Ninamu, we've got the national bird of South Africa, the blue crane, and they are a marvelously big bird, 110 centimeters, way up to 4.9 to 5 kilograms, so it's over 10 pounds, and they sort of frequent the open grassland type areas down in the Cape area. They're doing a lot better than they used to because of the agriculture and the wheat fields that we now have there. Okay, thanks, Ferg. Okay, so James would like to know which bird has got the most melodies in their call. Sure, hey? That is a good question. There are two birds come to mind immediately. The Sabota lark, which has got lots and lots of mimicking that it does. And then the white-browed scrub robin would be another one that does a lot of mimicking, a lot of melodies. There goes the cuckoo. Fantastic. We're having an awesome day of young birds. Very excited. So that, to me, at the top of my head, I would think are the two most melodious birds that we find here in the savannah. White-browed sparrow, white-browed robin chat has got a few nice calls. The tropical, or the southern, should I say, the southern boo-boo is also a mimicker, and they put in lots and lots and lots of funny whistles and calls in their repertoire. Let's see if he still has the little...
Oh, hello. It seems like Steve's found some gremlins. So what I'm doing now is I'm moving down into sort of the center of Chitwa, and I'm just waiting for Taylor to tell me exactly where the last tracks of Kuchava and her cub were. And I think there's a good chance she's on a kill. So if we get some luck there, I will be most pleased. I haven't seen Kuchava for well over a year. Whee! There we go. That was a tight turn. It was dangerous, Craig. I hope you weren't too scared. Okay, let's see. Madam McCurdy, where did you last have these tracks? So the nice thing about this section of Chitwa, there's a quite a nice road network in terms of crisscrossing roads. Oh. What did I spy through the thickets? Now, the other thing, apart from the nice road network here, this area is a difficult area to work in because of how thick it is, and you can see how an elephant can disappear that easily. But it is prime leopard country, especially for a female. There's lots of steenbok, lots of duiker, good open areas on the edges, with impala and inyala, good set of drainage lines. It's also prime elephant country. Now, we are looking at Loxodonta africana, the African savanna elephant, and tattooed girl, the Loxodonta cyclotis, is the forest elephant. Now, the difference between the two is quite vast, and with new genetic studies that have been going on, they're not nearly as closely related as previously thought. So, cyclotis is possibly more closely related to the Asian elephant, but they're still doing research on that. I'm going to find you a picture of a forest elephant. Let me just get you a picture quickly. I've been lucky enough to spend a lot of time with both. Aren't I a lucky fish? Having lived in the rainforests of Gabon for some time. Oh, those eddies are disappearing into the thicker stuff. Oh, dearie me. Let me see if I can find you a picture of a forest elephant while I move along down here. It sounds like I have some directions from McCurdy as well. And we're just going to go very slowly, and you can see how thick it is around here, and she could be lying right next to the road and we wouldn't see her. That's why often the best way to find a leopard in these areas is on Shank's pony. Now, that elephant that died, David, will make some of the soil more nutritious, but it's going to take a while due to the traffic of the hyenas and vultures that have completely flattened out, and in a lot of cases might have even removed the grass from that area, and anything that oh, excuse me, was under the elephant when it fell will make it even more difficult for that to grow. So it's going to be some time, but yes, it does add nutrients to the soil. Okay, nothing here. Now, there are no pygmy elephants in Africa, Sinak. The forest elephant is a lot smaller than the savanna elephant, the big elephant bull being about 3 tons, about the same weight as an elephant cow. Savanna elephant cow, that is. And yeah, they're much, much smaller. I'm trying to find you a picture, but I'm also trying to look for tracks. Oh. Sorry, I was just listening to the Game Drive radio there. Well, hoping to hear some alarm calls, but if they're on a kill, alarm calls actually don't become that important. Okay. I'm just going to go very slowly. Those forest eddies are much smaller. Their tusks face downwards rather than curved upwards. Their eyesight isn't as good as the savanna elephants because they live in that dark, closed forest, and they rely a lot more on their sense of hearing and smell. They're also a lot less vocal. They don't rumble nearly as much as the savanna ellies or trumpet or scream, which, of course, the savanna ellies do quite frequently. There we go. Here's an example of a forest ellie out in the open around the forest. So there's that wall of green. You can see how downward their trusts go. Now look at the shape of the ears are also different. They're quite a lot more round, quite a lot smaller, and that's a very big bull, which is tiny in comparison to the savanna bulls. Okay, well, I'm going to try to find out where exactly Kachava was last. While we do that, it sounds like Tristan is still on the hunt for that mysterious leopard.
I am indeed. We are on the hunt for this leopard, and Rex, who is helping me out, said he just got alarm calls not far from where we are, so he's just busy checking those out and seeing what's happening. Well, we can see where this leopard went to the toilet. If you have a look here, you've got a track there and a track over here, and then another little track there. So it basically stood with its back legs over here, front legs like this, and then it defecated here. Now you can see if I touch this, that this is still, I mean, it's dried a little bit. There is a bit of drying on it, but it is relatively soft comparatively. If this was yesterday's, it would be very dry by now. So I think that this must have been done maybe between sort of drive this morning and lunchtime, and that's kind of roughly the time frame. But looking at these tracks here, possible that it's a young male, so maybe this was on his tracks and I just got a bit excited by all of this. But there is a lot, like I say, alarm calls that Rexon reckons are coming from our southwest. And so I want to try and see if we can try and find this particular individual. And so while we do that, let's send you back across to Steve.
Yes, thanks, Tristan. Now, we've got a heron here, which most people might confuse for a black-headed heron, but it's just a grey heron with the breeding plumes on the top of the head, and it's managed to catch itself a frog. I can't identify the frog, but what it's doing is it's busy washing and trying to wipe off whatever sort of chemical secretion the frog might be sort of giving off. It almost looks like a platana, but I really can't be sure from this distance. But it's wiping it and wiping it and wiping it and getting whatever distasteful, possibly toxic substance that might be on there, oily, greasy substance off before swallowing it whole. How fantastic is this? We are at Buffelshoek Dam, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. And there are some resident hippos, which we will show you after we watch this kill take place. So this is really, really cool, watching this heron by the dam. There's always stuff to see at the dam. Always a hippo or two and a water bird or two, but to see a heron with a frog is marvelous. I wonder how long it's going to take for him to swallow. We found him like this. He's been washing that frog for some time, and the frog still seems to be alive. Poor thing. The migratory birds I miss the most when they're away, Aaron, are... good question. I do miss the bee-eaters, European bee-eaters. The woodland kingfisher I do miss when they go initially. And then after a week of them being back, I remember why I was glad they were gone in the first place. And the Egyptian geese are coming in for the swim by. Don't miss the Egyptian geese, not that they migrate. Apparently there are Egyptian geese in the United States nowadays. How they got there, I am not too sure. But what birds... A bird I haven't seen this season is the carmine bee-eaters. They're a bird I really, really enjoy seeing when they arrive. Very, very special. Yellow-billed kites are something I always enjoy seeing. They do still occur in certain areas in South Africa, down in the sort of the foresty areas. But here in the Kruger Park, we lose them during the winter months. Wahlberg's eagle is always nice to see. Broad-billed roller is one I haven't seen this year, but it does migrate as well, and I do enjoy spending time with them. But something about the cuckoos, there we go. In it goes into the crop. And the crop is just that sack underneath the throat that the bird can store stuff in, and once the crop is sort of at a suitable level, it will then start... Oh, is he going to put some soil in there now, or is he wiping off? Okay, we're going to go quickly over to Tristan.
Well, we're right on the boundary and managed to, between Rex and his excellent ears and the tracks that we found, managed to find this leopard just kind of walking along the main road and then coming kind of north now into Djuma. So we're trying to just get a view of him, kind of cut off the road as we were coming along. There we go. It's not him. It's actually Tundi. So I was right. It is a female. Well done. There we go. Hello, Tundi. What are you doing all the way down this side of the world? This is the furthest I've seen Tundi on the sort of western side in a long, long time. And you can see she's scent marking heavily. Now, that, in a way, could be a little concerning. It's not often cats scent mark like this and draw attention to themselves when they've got cubs. We know her so far, she's been kind of trying to fly under the radar. Also, we have a situation where maybe, just maybe, she's decided, hang on a second, there's other females that are coming into my territory. I'm going to come and make sure that everybody knows I'm still the dominant girl in this area. So that could be what this is all about. It could be a situation where she has just decided Shadulu is pushing far too far in. I'm going to make sure that everybody knows this is my territory and kind of comes and marks. But it does worry me a little bit when I see a cat marking like this that should theoretically have a cub, especially one that has been hiding her cub as much as what Tundi has. But how exciting is that we've managed to find her? It's so cool. I miss Tundi. It was so nice when we had her for so many months day in, day out. And now we kind of have gone through this phase where we didn't have much of her. So it's awesome to have her around, and we'll think positive vibes rather than negative vibes. Now, I'm going to stop right here. We're going to have a bit of an obscured view as she comes through past this foliage, but she should walk right past the car, which is fantastic. And I'm hoping what she's going to do is walk towards Shabamu, drink at Shabamu Pans, and then cut back northwards again. But this is definitely the furthest I've seen Thandi since prior to her falling pregnant in terms of coming west. So it gives you an idea of how far west she actually is at the moment. She's approaching Shabamu, which we know Shadulu spends time. And look, scent marking, urinating, rubbing her face. These are all signs that she is making a bold statement that this is still her territory. And maybe, just maybe, she picked up the scent of Shadulu and has said, enough. I'm not having any of this with another girl in my area. But how cool is that? It's very, very cool to see Thandi. Now, her feet seem a little bit bigger than normal, because Björn and I were like, it looks like Thandi, but it's not quite. And maybe we're just rusty from tracking Thandi. Now, Nikia is the furthest west that we've seen her. There's also lots of tracks for male leopard also in this area, so let's see what happens here. Maybe Hukamuri's been up and down this section. Now, I'm just basically bypassing her a little bit, and I'm going to set ourselves up to try and sit at Shabamu Pans, which is going to hopefully be a good place for us to watch her kind of walking straight towards us and potentially then going to go and drink. It's the best kind of area that we can use. So, guide monkey, it's potentially, yes, she could have lost her cub. That's why she's marking the way she is. But difficult to say without knowing for sure. We'll have to just see what her behavior is over the next little bit. She still has a bit of a kind of saggy tummy with milk that she was producing, so that will obviously dry up over time if she has lost the cub, but it's going to be interesting to see. It's just that this is not like Thandi at all. This is not her area that she's been hanging around in for many, many months now. Like I say, even prior to her giving birth, when she was still pregnant, she didn't even head in this direction. So I'm very surprised to see her this far. When we were tracking her earlier and I showed you where the dung was, that is an area where I would definitely think that Thandi would spend time. She loves that section, and she's just kind of walked through all the way. And like I say, maybe she just picked up the scent that there's another female been around, but she's definitely marking heavily and moving straight towards where we are. No, don't go that way now, Thandi. Don't go south. Stay on our side. No, don't go that way, girl. Now, it looks like she's going to go south into Little Gowrie, which is not ideal at all. I was hoping she was going to walk straight towards us, but it looks as though she's caught the scent of something, and she's decided she's going to head further south. That's not ideal. Now, I believe she's coming back to the fire break, which is good news. So we'll just kind of come back here and just see. There she is. Now, is she going to head towards Shabamu Pans? I'm going to stop here so that she's got space should she want to go past me. There she goes, right past where we are. So, Gemma, it depends on environmental conditions, depends on how much rain, wind, water, these kind of things fall, as to how long a scent mark will last. But for a leopard, it will last a number of weeks. It's not going to be something that disappears over 1 week, and that's why territorial females are able to keep their sort of boundaries for quite long periods of time, and why they actually go and mark their boundaries heavily when they are just before they give birth, and that lasts for the first couple of weeks while they're still trying to sort of figure everything out. But look, she's sniffing around. Now, the last leopard to walk in this direction was Hukamuri. This is where Brent was tracking Hukamuri the other day and had a brief view of him. And look, she's scent marking everywhere. So Hukamuri, if he walks here, is going to pick up the scent of Thandi very, very quickly. And the only reason I think she could be scent marking is if either, like I say, she's come across Shadulu's scent, or there's a situation where potentially She's lost her cub, and she's just re-establishing her territory. What sometimes does happen, though, and I've seen this with Salayesh before, and even Carrillo, is when they do have cubs like this, they go into a phase where they disappear. What are you doing, girl? Put her head in the bush. And they disappear, and then they get into a situation where they decide, hang on a second, we're going to try and kind of go back and just re-establish our territory in case others have come in while she's kind of been on the run. So that's what it could be, but it is intriguing that we haven't seen any sign of cub tracks yet, and it will be interesting to monitor her kind of behavior during the course of today and where she actually heads to, because it is a bit worrying that she's marking all the way out here, because Hukumori is going to pick up her scent in this area. There's no chance that he won't walk in this section. This is an area that he's walked many times over the last few months, and an area that he uses frequently. So if she's scenting like this, he is going to find her scent, and it's not good if she's got the cub, because he'll follow that as much as he can. You know, he's on the prowl now for new females, and he's a male in his prime, so he wants to mate as much as possible. Look, she's going on her back legs and rubbing her face, so tail will go up and she'll urinate, and then she's going to carry on. I thought maybe she would go and have a drink of water, but she's not. She is looking absolutely amazing, though. She's looking a little slimmer, so post-baby kind of slimming down for Tandy at the moment, but just also sniffing around heavily. See how she's smelling the grass everywhere? So she's picked up the scent for sure that there is somebody else in this area. Oh, what happened, girl? I don't know what happened. Nobody even moved or anything, and she just got a fright from, I think maybe a piece of grass hit her in their face or something, but she got an absolute fright and jumped into the air as though something was there. You can also see she was curling back her lips and kind of phlegm and grimacing at the same time. Shame, girl. She's probably on high alert, as you say, Nikki, because if she's all the way out here, she hasn't been here for ages, and this is going to mean that she's going to be a little on the stress side. But so epic that we found those tracks. I'm so excited that we actually put in some effort to try and find them. And I was saying to Vian, the way that they're walking is typical of both Tandy and Shadow, but this time Tandy is going way, 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 way west, considering where she normally hangs out. Now, if she cuts west from here, I don't think I've ever seen Tandy on the western side of this area. No, we're going back towards Shabamu. Tandy, do not go this way, please. Now, this is not a good way for Tandy to go, because she is walking straight to where the Nkuhumas have been lying the last 2 days, and so hopefully she picks up that scent before she gets anywhere close. Right, while we follow her and see which way she does go, let's send you back across to Steve, who I believe is doing some more birding and looking at a rather large feathered friend.
Ladies and gentlemen, I can't believe Tristan found Tandy, but I can't believe, secondly, that our heron has turned into a swan. I've never seen this before. It's probably walking on the bottom there, but it looks like it has just become Swan Lake. It's ridiculous. We've been watching it for the last however long you've been, however long it's taken you to come back, and it's been sitting there trying to swallow that frog. And it was having a very hard time of it. You could see it was opening its beak and closing its beak and drinking some water and drinking some water. But that was after it vigorously rubbed its beak clean on the soil on the side of the riverbank. And I wonder, there's no crocodiles that I've seen in here. Have you, Ferg? It'd be a nice meal for a crocodile. Maybe the ingestion of that frog has made it go a bit mad. Very interesting. The biggest frog a heron could catch. Sure. Cenac, I am not sure. As big as they can swallow, I suppose. So it's all about the size of the mouth. A lot of the time these herons feed almost primarily on, not really frogs, but on fish. And then they will take frogs as well as mussels and crabs, or should I say mollusks. And it really depends on how big it is to go down the throat. They don't really have the potential to break it open or to tear it apart to swallow. And so the biggest, I can't tell you. I cannot tell you. But because they're an aquatic heron, it would be a lot of the frogs you would find in and around, obviously, the water. So they'd probably steer clear of a lot of the toads that you find a little bit further away from water. But most of the frogs here are probably doable for the average size heron. When it comes to size, we don't get very, very big frogs around here. How beautiful is this swan? Yeah, so I hope the viewers are taking screenshots of this, because this is marvelous footage of this heron gone a little bit mad in the middle of the lake, in the middle of the dam. You can pan out a touch there, just to see how far in the water it's actually gone to. It thinks it's... Look at that. Isn't that marvelous? So I wonder if any of the viewers back home have got any screenshots of a crocodile that might have been in here at one point. Anywhere 50-kilometer radius of a crocodile-infested dam or river, you will potentially find a crocodile. So I'm not sure what this heron is doing. I really don't know. Maybe because it ate a frog, it thinks it's now an amphibian and it can swim as well as go out of the water. Marvelous behavior. I've never seen anything like this. I do know that these birds have got long legs, and it's possible that it's tiptoeing along the bottom there, but it's stopped moving and there's no purpose to its movement. Becky's got a heron that does this at home. She thinks it's a grey heron. Well, I've never seen this before. I've never seen them physically go in the water like this. Normally, what determines the heron and all the other sort of small aquatic birds that hang around on the edge of the rivers, what determines the depth that they go into the river is the length of their legs. And that is sort of how they gauge the distance from shore and what they're going to feed on. But we're going to leave our Swan Lake heron and go back over to Tristan and Tundi.
Well, she's just spotted something now, and she's kind of looking deeper into the thickets. And look, she's got that typical cat on a prowl sort of strut that they get when they spot something and they're interested. So I don't know what it is yet. I can't see anything. I'm trying to kind of have a look, but she's walking in that general direction and stopping and looking and stopping and looking, and you can see, look at how her head is twitching at any movement in here. So maybe there's a steenbok or a duiker or something like that that she's spotted that she's looking at, because this area here is full of those. As we drove the other day trying to find hukumuri, we disturbed so many of them through this area that I'm pretty sure that might be what she's watching. VM, I'm going to just go forward a little bit for you, because VM's got a bit of a situation. There's a lot of branches, and she's actually going to be right out in the open if I just go forward to there. So there she is, kind of standing. See the tail just gently twitching, which is always an indication of a situation where a leopard is interested. When they are interested, their tail gives away their kind of eagerness, because it'll twitch and it'll move. You see, look how she's looking. Now, she seems as though she's staring right into this bush, so I wonder if it's maybe a scrub hare that she's hunting, because we know she likes scrub hares. The last time we saw her was with the scrub hare, and maybe that's what she's looking for. But isn't this cool to see that Tundi is around? And I'm so glad that she's this side. I hope that the cub is okay, but it's good to see that she's putting her kind of mark down again and just making sure that her boundaries are protected. But I have no idea what she's watching. She's kind of staring off into that thicket as though there's something in there that she's busy. There we go. You see she's staring. I think it's a scrub hare. That's the only animal that would sit like that and lie down in that particular way would be something like a scrub hare. The way that she's looking, she's almost looking down. She's not looking forward. So I think it might be something like that. Let's see. No, she's creeping forward. You see, keeping her body profile nice and low, making sure that she's not easily visible at all. There she goes behind the bush. So we're going to have to move a little bit. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to see her. Becky, she might be looking for hukumuri. I'd be very surprised if she is, if she still has the cub. If she doesn't have the cub, then yes, she would look for him. The thing is, though, is we saw her, 4 days ago? Was it 4 days ago? I don't know, somewhere around there. And she still had the cub with her, and so she can't have come into an estrus cycle in that short space of time. So it's not that she's come into an estrus cycle and is now looking to mate. The thing is more a situation that she just hasn't been patrolling her territory nearly as much as she used to, and maybe she's decided that this is time now to kind of just make sure that everybody knows this is still hers. Or, like I say, she's lost the cub and she's now just advertising that this is, coming back just to make sure her territory is then established again. But she's going to fight with Shadulu if she comes all the way to this direction, because Shadulu walks this area as well and is seen in this section fairly regularly too. So Magic Dragon Wizard, losing her cub would put her back into a estrus cycle, but not right away. It wouldn't cause it to happen like that. It takes about 3-4 weeks until she starts getting back into estrus. Now she's walking pretty much straight towards where I am at the moment. I don't see any sign of any prey animals anywhere near me. I'm going very slowly just so as I don't disturb anything. Let's see, now where did she go? She was right here. Oh, there she is. She's going back away from us, Wildy. Thandi is a busy cat this afternoon, so let's try and get back to where she is. She's kind of, I thought she was going to come more this way, but it seems as though she's now going back the way we've just come. So I'll try and keep up with her. In fact, she's actually going back to the road, which is interesting. I would have thought that she was very interested in whatever it was, and I would have thought that she would have kept stalking it, but it seems as though she's going to go back towards the road and continue her patrol northwards and carry on. So, Lady Starfire, we don't know where she last stashed the cub. We just know the last time she was with the cub, with the scrub hare, was in the drainage line off Nyala Road South. Now, she came from that area. We got her tracks coming from Nyala Road South, through Spaghetti Junction, down Twin Dams Road, across the block to Weaver's Nest to Firebreak onto Gari Main back onto Firebreak, back towards Shabamu. But the distance from Nyala Road South to here is massive. So it's a long, long way that she's travelled, and it's in a situation where she's moved a lot further than she has in a long time. And look how she's sniffing around. You can see she's watching. She's, well, not watching, but she's very aware that somebody else is around here, and so she's smelling. And the last male or last leopard to walk here that we know of was Hukamuri. So I think she's just gathering intel at this stage, and she's sniffing and smelling and probably working out exactly what's going on. I wouldn't be surprised she pops her head up in a phlegm and grimace and kind of looks towards us with her lips curled back, using that organ of Jacobson. There we go. Look at that. So you can see she's using that organ of Jacobson to try and work out exactly who this is, what they're doing here, and whether or not this is now a threat to her. So she's gathered valuable information from whoever urinated there, whether it be Shadulu, Hukamuri, one of these new males. It's difficult to say. I would hazard a guess that it's Hukamuri, given that we're on the edge of a road, and this is where male leopards generally will scent mark right on the edge of roads. So let's try and keep up with her. She's going to smell the lions fairly shortly, because this is where the lions went from when they killed the kudu, not yesterday, well, not last night, the night before. So she should pick up the scent of the lions, and she's actually heading the right way. The lions are quite far to our east now, and so as long as she keeps going northwards on this road, she's going to be absolutely fine. So that's all good. Oh, sorry, Thandi, I didn't see you stopping there. It's too busy looking at the camera. Oopsie. Now, we're going to have to play a little bit of a leapfrog effect, because we can't hog the front all the time. We need to allow the others to also have a little bit of a view. And so let's just see where she goes from here, and then we'll pull over and let the others have a chance. But you see how she's sniffing. It's almost like she is tracking one of the other leopards in this particular area, smelling everywhere she goes. And where she can't smell anything, she then scent marks. So I think she's working out exactly what's going on. And you see how she loses the scent, then she goes back again, then she goes forward, then she goes back again, then she goes forward, then she goes back again. So she's definitely trying to work out who these leopards are that have been walking around. And I don't know. I mean, it's, for me, in my experience, when a leopard mother does this, it's normally not the best sign, unfortunately, that her cubs are not actually still around. Anyway, we're going to try and pull off, and we're going to try and sort of follow Thandi as long as we can, see where she takes us. Maybe she takes us back to the cub and all is for all right, but let's give the others a chance in the meantime. And so while I give the others a chance, let's send you back across to Steve and see what he's up to and where he's off to now.
Thanks, Tristan. We have left our swan, aka Heron, in the dam. Not quite sure what he did. Myself and Ferg are considering that maybe there was on that frog, and he's in jest, and he's gone a little bit bonkers. We're not too sure, but we left him to his own devices there. I don't think he's going to drown, and we are continuing on our adventures. Marvelous that we are able to see Hosanna and Thandi this afternoon. But yet Ferg and I are still leopardless today. But don't worry, folks, we don't feel the pressure. We will just find it when it is time. when it's time. We'll continue doing our birding and whatever tracks might come along. Maybe a little tree quiz just now. That perk in your ears, tree quiz. I know a lot of you out there enjoy your plants. Mina would like to know who won the cricket. Mina, the cricket is not finished yet, but I think, oh, you're talking... Mina, I got confused because there is a test match at the moment between Australia and South Africa, which is almost, will be finished tomorrow. But should I say Taylor's team won? I have no doubt that if Taylor was on drive this afternoon, you would have known about this long time ago. And considering Brent was in my team and he hasn't said anything, you can assume that Brent's team has lost. We just had a cool bird that flew off there. But if Brent had won this afternoon, it would have been the first thing. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brent Leo Smith, and we are the winners of the cricket. That would have been the first thing that you heard, I am sure. But we lost. I played poorly. Nikki was in my side. She's actually directing at the moment. And Ferg was in my side. And Alicia. And Alicia played very well. She's American. It was her first game of cricket ever. I think we've scarred her for life. She doesn't want to play anymore. She said it was very boring. But that's cricket. You either love it or you don't. I didn't play very well. And the other team were in it another day. Taylor and Conrad. Who else was in there? Oh, and Jerry, of course, Jerry. Jerry got the winning bowl. She bowled out Brent to win the game. Okay. Oh, was it? Yes, she bowled out Brent. And then, yay, Jerry! Give a round of applause to Jerry. She won the game for the team today, but they had a really good performance, I must admit. Won't take anything away. It was fun. It was nice being out. Got a little hot. We could have done with some cool punishments out there. But cricket was very fun. Very fun. Nice to be active out here. And it wasn't the hottest of days when we started. It was quite overcast. Oh, Louise, who's in FC, she was also in the winning team, and she had quite a good opening partnership with Taylor. But Taylor seemed to be quite the dominant batsman in the side. She might not have scored all the runs, but she stayed there for a very long time. So that's what you do in cricket. That's what I was supposed to do, but I went out very early, and that was the end of that. So what can we do? No doubt you can imagine there was lots of chirping going on. Lots of chirping. But all fun and games. Fun and games. Competition. Ravinda, it was a 15-over game. We were thinking about 20 overs, but the sun suddenly emerged and it got hot. And the Taylor's team were already on 11 overs at the time. Do another 8, 20. I think we would have cooked ourselves. But our team needed the extra 20 to win, but we were bowled out. We were bowled out for, I think, 55, and I think they scored 81, 82. So what can you do? We got thrashed, but that is what happens out here. Nikki is correcting me, saying 65. 65. But for those of you who out there who don't follow cricket, don't worry. The conversation is going to end now about cricket. And maybe we should find ourselves a marvelous bird. There have been some really nice birds out today, just flittering around. The rainfall that we had in the last 10 days while I've been away has really greened up the place, and there's been an inundation of insects again. And here we are at a very small pan called Gwari Pan that I was hoping to get some activity at. There are some old buffalo tracks moving in and around, but nothing too fresh to be concerned about. And this is the area where, before I went on leave anyway, for over 10 days ago, where we were finding Tunda in a cub all the time. So I'd kind of hoped in the back of my mind, after checking the dam, to be coming down here and finding that beautiful leopardess just sort of sprawled here on the dam wall. Wouldn't that have been marvelous? But it seems Tristan has had the luck today and found Tundi all the way on the other side. I can maybe show you on the map quickly. Look at that sky. What more can I say? Look at the sky. Beautiful. Sorry about the aerial. Sorry about the aerial there, folks. Beautiful. Okay, so let me show you where we are, just so you get an idea of what's going on the property today. Down here in the bottom corner is where Brent found Hosanna. I have no idea where Brent is at the moment, but then on Treehouse Road right over here is where we left the Umkuhumas this morning, and this is where Tristan found Tundi walking along this road, and she's gone in onto this road here, and we are all the way up here on the other side, Gwaripan. We're just over here somewhere, just about there. So this is the area Tundi's been spending a lot of her time, and now we find her all the way over there. So it's a marvelous distance. I suppose it's not really that far, but she is in and around where the lions are being active, and I've no doubt, as Tristan says, she's going to pick up on their smell pretty soon. As we spoke about it before, lions have got a very particular kind of smell, and well, I'm sure she will smell them. Not just the predators that need to, not just the herbivores that need to smell the predators. It's also advantageous for a leopard to smell a lion before it sees it. Very good for their survival. So there was a breeding herd of buffalo came through here, seemingly probably yesterday, by the tracks. Big cloven hooved track heading in that direction. And there's evidence of it in the road with a pile of dung just above my light. I apologize. Very typical. It actually looks like it was from today, because you can see how moist it is. But they probably went straight through here from Gwaripan, past Buffelshoek, and into the north, which is what they do. Okay, so we just had an update in my ear. Brent has heard through his whisperers that probably the tracks we had of that male leopard were probably of Hukumuri, and it seems like he's crossed. Let me show you, just so that you can get reference. And this is where we had the tracks of him coming in. Or hang on, it was on Aubrey's, and there's evidence now that he's crossed west into Simbambili. So not too far to go really, but he would have walked through this block. I would have missed his tracks if he'd crossed this road. This is quite a busy road, so lots of cars on here. So if you don't get the tracks early enough, it's very hard to see anything fresh. So unfortunately, that is the way it works. Hukumuri has gone west, but that is a good thing for Tundi and her cub. Tundi and her cub, which I have not seen in ages. Either of them. Thank you, Kathleen. You have sent a screenshot of a crocodile in Buffelshoek Dam from 2015, a large crocodile. Well done. I'm sure they will be there from time to time. I've never seen one, but why not? It is quite a nice dam. And there are herons swimming about in there, so definitely food for the crocodiles. I'm going to pull up here, Ferg, and we get a nice little view. We're on that road that runs down on our eastern side called Drakensberg, and I'll get a little bit further up, try and get a viewpoint of the distance here. I'll just pull up here quickly. There you can see the Drakensberg in the distance. Let me just find a little gap. I'm not doing very well, am I, Ferg? The name, obviously, Drakensberg is given because you can see the Drakensberg Mountains in the distance there. I'll be going to Brent directly after this, but I've just promised you a view, and I can give you a small one. Can you see it there, Ferg? Yes, you can. Okay, that is the view, and in the distance, just on the horizon, you can make out a little bit of a line of the mountain. You can see it there. That is the escarpment with some clouds forming around it. Everything down below it is called, see the clouds on top in that line, that's the Drakensberg, otherwise known as the Dragon's Back Mountain. Okay, folks, so Brent is finally back on the vehicle. Let's go over to him and find out what he has been doing.
So guys, she is so close. I can feel it in my bones. Taylor was definitely right about the tracks. I've managed to figure out the scramble. The most fresh tracks are going into this area just to the east of us here. And the cub is with her. And I thought I could smell some meat, but it's really, really thick in there. So I just want to triple check that she hasn't taken a shortcut through that block. And if she hasn't, I'm coming back and I'm gonna do a bit of a longer walk. Most of the time I was off the vehicle in the last little while was actually trying to figure out which set of tracks was the most fresh. And I actually had to walk quite a long way to find the track of her heading east on top of the track of her heading west, which is how we figured which is which. But it was quite difficult because they were walking opposite sides. Now, hopefully, we're going to be able to add another 2 leopards to our spotty afternoons so far. So let's go back to Thandi.
Well, hopefully, Brenty, it will be nice if you find Kuchava and cub. I don't think we've had cub on drive yet, so it will be very, very, very good. Now, Thandi, as you can see, is still head sort of bashing bushes and marking as much as she can and kind of scenting everywhere that she goes. She's pushed a little bit further west into the block and is now kind of mobile north again and away from us. Now, there's actually a vehicle, as you can see behind us, and they actually say that they've got friends that are watching our show. So, Yusuf, if you're watching, it is a warm welcome and hello from all of your friends that are here at Djuma, as well as, well, to the show itself, and hopefully you are participating and asking some questions. But they did say that I must say hello to you and that you would be watching. So, Yusuf, if you are watching, let us know, and you can do that hashtag Safari Live on Twitter or on the YouTube chat if you are watching on either one of those. Anyway, let's carry on and catch up towards Thandi. Oh, so good to see her, though. Isn't she such a pretty leopard? I miss her. It's not nice that we don't get to see her as much as we did. We were so spoilt at one point. It was kind of, you'd go out and every day you knew that somewhere Thandi you had that sort of feeling that somewhere, somehow, you would be able to get a sighting of Thandi. And, you know, now over the course of the last few weeks, it's been really difficult in that regard, as we just haven't had those chances and those abilities to be able to kind of get great views of her and spend quality time with her. And I miss that. So it was such a epic time in December and January. Well, actually, November, December, January. It was just the most amazing kind of few weeks that we managed to get. And so hopefully she'll stick around, and the way that she's marking, she's definitely here to stay. Now, I wonder if she's going to go on top of this mound. You see she's striding straight towards the mound itself. So let's go position ourselves that we get her on the mound. It'll be so pretty if she does go up here. No, don't go round it. So she's going around it. Now, Catherine, if she has lost the cub, you're asking what would happen to her body or its body? Next. The cub's body or hers? To the cub's body. The cub's body will be eaten in about 2 minutes. A hyena will come across it, or various types of insects will get hold of it. You'll get vultures. Lots of different things will feed off a cub's body. So it will be a situation where it will just get snacked, unfortunately, which is, I suppose if it's dead already, then that's okay. But I have a funny feeling that if this cub is no longer here, then one of the boys got it. So either Hukumuri or Gajima got hold of this cub, if that's the case. I know Brent's had tracks for Gajima. I know we've had Hukumuri's had tracks going in that general direction. And so if she has lost it, probably one of them, and in which case, wouldn't be surprised that they actually just consumed it. It's an area that, well, it's a thing that they would do. It's ultimately, it's still nutrients. Hello, girl. Are you saying hello over the grass? So, Judy, no, I don't think so. Sorry, I'm trying to get forward. There's a big stump here. So let's try and get round. I don't think she's trying to scent mark to confuse Hukumuri. Ultimately, Hukumuri is going to have a very, very well-developed sense of smell. And as she's able to track things, so he would be able to track her too. And so it's not going to confuse her or confuse him by her scent marking everywhere. It's actually just going to lead him towards her. Interestingly enough, though, I don't know if anyone remembers the Shadulu sighting we had a few days ago when she was kind of watching us on that termite mound and we found her up in a tree. This is the exact path that Shadulu walked is past this dead tree. She then went up, and we'll go down the slope a little bit, and then the big Marula tree that she was sitting in should be straight north of us. So I wonder if she's not smelling Shadulu at the moment, and that's why she's walking this route. It's not far from where we were. We were a little bit kind of entered the block a little bit more to the sort of western side, but she did walk past this section going northward. So I think that's what Tandi's actually smelling more than she's smelling Hukamuri at the moment. She's watching people coming in and joining the sighting, and here she goes, carrying on going forward. So let's try and keep up with her and see where she goes from here. Either way, she's not stopping this afternoon. She's very busy. So Sinak, no, she's not marking for the cub to sense her and come to her. That's not how leopards work with their cubs. She will leave her cub somewhere, and then she will call it, and she will vocalize, and that will bring the cub out of where she left it. The cub knows not to move around. She's not leaving a trail for the cub at all. This is not how leopards will try and find their cubs. It's a different kind of situation with them. They will leave cubs. Cubs know they mustn't move, and then they'll kind of get called out. And there we go. She's going up a termite mound, albeit the smallest termite mound that there is out here. She's kind of just watching. Now she's going to go and look at the Marula tree, have a little rub on it, and off she goes again into the thickets. So she's in a situation where she's going through lots and lots of deep, dense thickets and going along. So Tax is letting us go. I was waving to Tax to go, but he's being very kind. Thank you, Tax, and allowing us through first, which is always nice. Such a pleasure to work with Tax and Rex and Aubrey. They look after us so much, and they always are so kind of sort of, I don't know what's the word for it, cooperative and kind of helpful in what we do, and they realize how we kind of do things, and they often will stand by and let us go first and those kind of things. So it's always good to work with the guys, and they are a wonderful group of men. They're always very, very, very kind to all of us, so nice to have them around, that's for sure. Tandi still going northwards. I think she's going to be on a serious mission tonight. I don't think she's going to stop at all. So next, depends. I mean, I've seen some mother leopards leave their cubs for 2 days, others for 3 days. Sometimes they won't leave their cubs for more than a day. It just depends. Obviously, when the younger the cub is, the harder it is, or the shorter period that they leave them for, given that the cub has got to feed and all those kind of things. But that's the tree over there that Shadulu was lying in. So that Marula tree right there is the tree that Shadulu was in a few days ago. So she's pretty much tracking Shadulu almost step for step at the moment. We'll just see where she goes from here, but that's about kind of how she's doing it. Now, there she goes, slinking through the long grass. You can see how difficult it is to see these cats at the moment. Once the grass dies back, it becomes a lot easier, but for now, quite tough. So we're going to try to keep up with her. While we do that, let's send you back across to Brent to see if he's had any luck with one of Tandi's daughters.
Well, yes and no. There's no tracks crossing out of the block. Good news. Problem? The thickness of this block. It is really thick. Lots of long grass, lots of scrubby trees. So I'm going to take a stroll into that now. And the sun is setting slowly. So I'm really hoping that we get lucky with Kachava before it gets too dark. So I'm going to go for a quick stroll through this block. While I do that, let's send you back to good old Steve.
Thanks, Brent. Okay, so I said a little bit of a tree quiz. If you're interested, if you're not, don't worry, you don't have to play. But basically what I want to do is just a small explanation for those of you out there who don't know a lot about trees. Those of you who do know, you're welcome to join in. But I want to do this so that it's easier for people to identify a tree in the future. Now, we're going to start off with a very simple structure. And you can see that this piece here is the entire leaf here. So this is called a simple leaf. Very easy to remember. And if I turn it just slightly, you hold it right there, you can see that these leaves are not opposite each other on the stalk. They alternate. So if you identified this tree, you'd have to look at it and say it is a simple leaf. Okay, and the leaves are alternate. Does that make sense? Very good. And now we've got another one here, which is very similar, with also the same type of structure. The leaves are simple, and they are opposite. But what is very characteristic of this species is if you look at the base of the leaf, you see how the one side is sort of fatter than the other side. They call that obovate in the book. So when trying to identify this species, it's very easy to identify. And as an easier look to understand where the true leaf is, you can see this little bulb over there at the tip of my fingernail. Can you see that? That is called the axillary bud, or auxiliary bud, however you would like to say it. And that is the growth point. And that indicates that this entire piece is the leaf and is a simple leaf, and very easy to identify this as one of the raisin species we find here, because the base of the leaf is fatter on one side and not on the other. Easy enough? Okay, one more of the simple leaves, or two more simple leaves, because once we've done this over the next few weeks, we're going to get right into tree quizzes and how can you identify trees. Here we have got another specimen, and this is a very easy specimen to remember. You can see the leaves once again. There is the leaf. There is that axillary bud just in the crook there. Can you see it? Between what we call the petiole and the stalk. You can see on either side here, there are two leaves. Both of them have got the that auxiliary bud at the base. If you can just zoom right into the middle, you see how they've got auxiliary bud, both of them just in there. Okay, so these leaves would be very easily opposite. Okay, so remember that for simple leaves. We'll come back to this in a little while. Let's go back over to Thandi, who is showing herself to Tristan.
She is indeed. So she's right out in the most beautiful grasses at the moment, kind of just ghosting through all of these sort of seeds that are there. And she looks as pretty as ever, does she not? She looks almost like a young girl in these sort of poses that she's got. She doesn't look as though she's 12 years old at all. She's looking very youthful today and is looking as good as I've seen her for a while. So glad that she's looking pretty good, and you can see she's her typical self walking right past, and no snarling today. Oh, nice little graceful leap as well. You're showing off today, Thandi, bar your little jump at the grass earlier. Otherwise you've been on proper show today. But she is aware of everything. It is amazing watching her. So, David, it is unusual that we do have more males than females at the moment, but it all stabilizes. This is how it goes. You go through ebbs and flows when it comes to dynamics of any of the territorial animals. Sometimes you will have an excess of males, sometimes you'll have an excess of females, and so it kind of just balances itself out eventually. But we are going through a period now where we've got a lot of males, and it really is an interesting kind of time at the moment because of how many males and females we've got and the complete changeovers within our dynamics of leopards. It's a tough time for all of our cats at the moment, and we'll delve into it a little bit more. I just want to try and keep up with her, make sure that we don't lose her through this thicket, because it's going to go down into a drainage line fairly shortly, and that's going to make life a little bit more difficult. So while I try and get across this drainage line and then sort of find Thandi again, let's send you back across to Steve and his feathered friend.
Thanks, Tristan. I hope she doesn't disappear into the drainage line, but I've no doubt you'll be able to find her, and maybe something is lurking in the drainage line, like her little cub. Wouldn't that be marvelous? And here, indeed, we've got a feathered friend. We have got a Bateleur eagle. It is a male because of the waistcoat. You see the beautiful red face. We're just waiting for the light to just come past the clouds, and it will illuminate him beautifully as he sits in there preening and cleaning all the feathers. You can easily see it's a Bateleur by the colors, but if you look at the lower side of it, you can see the tips of the wings are just tipping below where the tail actually should be. The tail should be sitting there, but there's no tail. We don't see a tail, we just see the tips of the wings. Come on, light. Ferg is willing it with all he can muster. The cloud is not moving. We are stuck with this poor light. And here comes a second one about to join it. Stay right there. There we go. In it comes. Boom. Number 2. Hello, Mama. There is the wife. You can see she's wearing the mini skirt. The white around the waist area is an indication of her mini skirt. And he is wearing the waist belt, the waistcoat around the shoulders. That's the easy way to identify them when they are sitting in a tree. Obviously, when they're flying, there are differences. Okay, it looks like Tristan has managed to find her again. Let's go back to him.
Well, we're trying to keep up with her and trying to kind of stay the distance, if you want to call it that, and sort of follow her as she goes, but she really is going through dense thickets. The last time I saw her was just on this left-hand side. There she pops out right in front of us. So I'll just stop here for now because she's kind of walking ahead of me at the moment. And you can see her tail's up because of the birds that are shouting at her. There's a few cisticolas that are going crazy and making a little bit of noise. Now, I was saying we're in a state of flux, and it's an interesting kind of time because it's very seldom that you get a situation where you'll get both males and females in a state of flux like we currently have at the moment. It's not very often at all that these things happen, and so it's a kind of difficult situation, and one that probably is very seldom kind of experienced by anyone, really. It's not a situation that you have very often, and oh, no, this is not going to go down very easily because of where we are. Let's try a different way round. No, we're just going to try and go up the bank where it's a little more gentle. I was just trying to kind of take the gap, but it's a little too undulating where we were going. So let's just hop up this side. It's going to be much quicker and much easier than going the other way. Right. There we go. And so I was saying it's very odd that you have this situation. Normally you'll have a situation where, male would be in a state of flux, but the females would be pretty sort of settled, or you would have females in a state of flux and males in a sort of settled situation. But with Karula disappearing, our females were just starting to kind of settle down under the reign of Tingana, and then Tingana got ill, and so it's changed the whole dynamic between males, females, and all of the kind of things that have gone on. And the problem with it was that it just changed bit of an sort of the timing wasn't really very good because our females all fell pregnant to Tingana, and then we had a situation where he then obviously got ill and the Hukamuri arrived. So it's been a bit of a difficult time. The only difference between these females and sort of Karula, and I know Pamela, if you're watching, you sent me a message the other day asking about this, as to why Karula was so much more successful with her cubs than maybe some of the other females in the area. And I can tell you the reason is more than likely that Karula used to go out of her way to try and find as many males as possible within her area. In fact, she used to go way out of her area to go and find males. I remember once seeing her on the Ottawa-Londolozi boundary with Elephant Plains, and, well, Arathus are private actually, and that is from here about a 45-minute drive, maybe an hour drive from here, which is very, 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 very far for a female leopard to be out of her territory. In fact, she crossed 3 other female territories just to get to there to mate with Tingana at the time, because Tingana wasn't actually the dominant male. But, look at the lights on her. So she used to move well out of her territory, and she used to go east, west, north, south to mate with every single male that she possibly could in order to probably ensure that those cubs were safe no matter what happened and what played out with the males. Now, I just want to try and get forward a little bit because the light on her as she comes into this afternoon golden sun should be absolutely beautiful. Look at that. Look at how her colors just completely pop as she kind of moves into the light. So Karula used to travel a lot more than what maybe Tundi, Shadow, any of the others have done. I mean, we know that Tundi, she didn't actually mate with, as far as we know, Quarantine or even Anderson on our edges, whereas Karula used to do that. She used to go all the way to the eastern Kruger boundary, mate with those males. Then she would go north, she would mate with Mvula, she would mate with Mufufinian, she would mate with whoever was around to try and kind of make sure that she protected and future-proofed her cubs probably a little bit better than any of the other females. And that's maybe why we've got a situation where, she was so much more successful in raising cubs and seemed so much more stable, even though the males around her were changing frequently. Where'd she go? Oh, there she is. Snoozy, no. So if Tundi was looking for her cub, she wouldn't be scent marking like this, and she would be vocalizing. So she would be chuffing, she would be soft contact calling, she would be a lot more kind of incessant about the way that she was moving. Now she's just inquisitive at every branch and every stop because she's smelling something. She's also in a situation where she's scent marking a lot, but she's not trying to find the cub. If she was trying to find the cub, she wouldn't scent mark. She'd just rather be kind of chuffing and calling and trying to advertise to that cub to come out and to find her and to hear her and come bounding towards her, rather than just trying to kind of sit and not have a sort of a situation where any other animal could find her. If she's calling the cub, she doesn't want males or other females to be able to find her and to sort of endanger that cub's life in any way. There we go. She's sniffing around again. Again, we're right where Kuchava was the other day. Isn't it good to see her? I know a lot of you are Tundi fans, so I'm sure many of you are happy to see our beautiful girl. But what intrigues me with this situation and what's amazing is that, we sit and we see tracks of leopard and we say that they're very fresh and that this leopard can't be far. And I was saying earlier that the tracks are fresh, but within 2 hours, or 2.5 hours, this cat is pretty much covered, I would say 60% of Djuma, or no, maybe 50% of Djuma already in 2 hours. So it gives you an idea of how sometimes tracking leopard is not for the faint-hearted and is a quick process that you need to do to try and keep up with them. So Magic Dragon Wizard, in terms of how far she'll go from the cub, the older the cub, the further she'll go. So, as the cub starts to be able to climb, fend for itself, then she'll go quite far. I mean, I've seen females going right to the edges of their territory with their cub being left on the far opposite side. So they do move them quite a long way, go quite a long way for them, or from them, should I say. And they do kind of move a lot. But in this case, I don't know, there's just something about this sighting that just doesn't seem to sit right in the way that Tundi's going about things. It just doesn't feel like she's kind of in a situation where she's just ambling and looking for food, and because generally when she's not with the cub, it's when she's hunting, and this situation just doesn't feel like she's in hunt mode. She feels like she's in full-on stalk mode, not stalk mode, scent marking mode, and is in a sort of process where she's trying to sort of claim her territory back and trying to mark her boundaries once again. So I don't know, something just doesn't feel right about this sighting, and I don't know if it's because it's just that we haven't seen her this far west, but her behavior is of a cat that, I don't know, seems as though she's trying to re-establish the boundaries once again. So Bobby, most definitely female leopards will fight if they come across each other. There's been many a recorded case of females actually killing one another, and I've even heard of females killing each other's cubs. So they will fight if they come across each other. I mean, we know that Shadow and Tundi growled and hissed and carried on at one another. Whether they would have actually come to blows, I don't know. I think both cubs were there at the time, and so that made life a little bit more kind of difficult. But they will fight if they come across one another. So her and Shadulu would have a bit of a box if they do. And I actually think that leopards, females, will fight more readily than the males. The males know that they're both powerful animals and the fight could lead to serious injury, whereas females just, I don't know, maybe it's just that feminine sort of streak that they lose the temper and then they just kind of are protective and the motherly side of them comes out. So I'm not sure why it is that way, but it is the situation. You can see she's kind of striding off towards the sunset at the moment. Just try to keep up with her. She's going to cross another drainage line shortly, which is going to be really difficult to get through, and it's where we lost Shadulu the other night. So I'm just hoping that she does it in a place that we're able to get through and not going to be too difficult for us. It seems as though she's slowed down a little bit now, which is nice. And so hopefully she's going to sit here for 2 minutes and let us have a really good look at her. What are you rolling in, girl? Maybe she's found some buffalo dung to roll in. There's a few buffalo tracks around here, and that's what she could be rolling around. We know that they do like to roll in buffalo dung. Steve was talking about it earlier, that cats do sometimes do this. So she's probably just kind of, I don't know, is she eating something though? Sounds like she might be. No, she's definitely rolling in whatever it is. Are you going to sit down for a bit, girl? No, I don't think so. I think she's in a situation where she's just rolling on. Hopefully she'll roll onto her back. Sometimes they do when they roll into their back and their paws go in the air and then they kind of just look at you from the corner of their eye. It's always the cutest kind of pose. There we go. Isn't that cute? Doesn't she look like she's having a bit of fun? So she's just covering herself with the scent of whatever dung is in there. I'm pretty sure it's buffalo dung that she's rolling in. This is generally what they use. They sometimes do it in impala dung if it's fresh, but there seems to be a lot of tracks for buffalo in this section. So the grass is a bit trampled here, and I'm pretty sure that's what she's kind of rolling about in. But at her playful best when she does that, and then up and go again. Oh, she is looking good. It's amazing how silent she is when she walks through the grass. Even though she was walking there, you couldn't hear a single thing as she slinked through those grasses. It's amazing to me how quiet these guys can be. Good, let's try and keep up again and keep making our way forward and sort of trying to stay with her. I just hope that when she goes through, like I say, this drainage line, it's through a place where we can actually cross it and get through. Now, who was it that was Scotty? Was it Scotty that got stuck here? I don't know, Nikki, do you remember when the wild dogs were around and we took a bumble? I think Scotty got stuck. Yes, this is that drainage line, Nikki. So Nikki knows what drainage line I'm talking about, because I remember Scotty got stuck in said drainage line a few months ago. It was during our TV shows in February, so it's not a drainage line to play around in too much, and Nikki will know exactly what I'm talking about. So hopefully she takes us through a kind path and we'll be able to keep up with her for that period. It's almost time for the schools to join us, so it'll be nice. In fact, we've actually already gotten through. So here's Rebecca's road. I didn't even realize we were this far already. Well, that's nice. I didn't have to worry so much. Excellent. So we're already on Rebecca's road. There's Quarantine in the distance as well, and she should be coming pretty much straight towards us, although I just want to reverse back a little bit to give her some space. She's going to come out onto the road fairly close in front of us, and we don't want to cramp her style. She's got places to be and things to do, so let's not cramp the way that she's moving. But I think she's going to go straight across to that Marula tree to go and mark. Did you see how she's smelling and scent mark? I'm pretty sure she's going to scent mark again on top here. It looks as though she's just kind of going to give us a phlegm and grimace again at some point. There we go, phlegm and grimacing. So she's still picking up the scent of whatever other leopard she's been tracking around here. And she'll probably go towards that Marula tree. If any other leopard did scent mark here, the Marula tree is where they would have done it. There you go. See, she's scraping on top of where she just smelt. So whoever was the one that scent marked there, she's just urinated on top of. Now the last leopard, like I said, that I tracked on this road would have been Hukumuri. He was here. When did we find him? The day that he bumped into Hosanna, that day, that's when we found him on this particular section, and he walked here and scent marked in these areas. So she's pretty much scent marking on top of his, and you see she gave a little spray, and now we'll head back down the road and back kind of to the way that she came from, which is amazing. So we're going to do a big circle at this stage. Now, we are on the road, so which means we're going to play leapfrog. There's some others that have joined us that would probably like to spend a bit of time, so we'll let them go ahead of us so that they can enjoy the view, and we'll just kind of hang back a little bit. So Tax will go first, and then while we do that, let's send you across to Steve, and I think he's just caught up with the Nkuhuma Pride.
As we watch one young lioness who's just quenched her thirst, we've just made our way back to the last place we left the Nkuhumas this morning, and we saw just this one youngster drinking, and now she's going to go back to the rest of the pride to probably plump herself down in the shade, even though the sun is setting in the distance. To answer questions from yesterday, those people who were asking me about the black spots behind the ears, have a look how visible they are from behind when they walk. There we go, you can see the rest just over there. Let's move up and see if we can find the rest of them, shall we? Why not? Why not? Didn't think they would have moved too far. Not when your bellies are full. Beautiful afternoon at Treehouse Dam. Nkuhumas, They are getting smaller, but we thought we might just stop you there, as I saw up ahead that the lions are just plonked down, doing absolutely nothing. So there we have a couple of vultures. Looking by the silhouette of the beak, they look like hooded vultures. And they're both about the same size, so I'd say they're both hooded vultures, definitely by that very narrow beak. And what a beautiful backdrop. I really do wonder if these birds sit up in the tree and also marvel at the sunsets and the views that we spend so much time going ooh and ah to. I know a lot of the viewers absolutely love the sunsets and the views that we show, and I tell you, the camera doesn't do them all that much justice. It looks beautiful on camera and on the screen, but to take it all in, all the surroundings, all the colors, all the smells, I just wonder if these birds take it for granted, if they sit there and the one sitting going, what do you think, mate? Nice sunset? Sorry about my disastrous Australian accent. Ferg reckons they probably write a bit of poetry about it. And the one's got a notebook out, busy writing down some soliloquies for tomorrow. Potentially a breeding or mating pair there. So maybe they're just both enjoying a glass of apple juice and watching the sunset. Wouldn't that be funny to see them with a glass in their hand? Really would be. That would be one for the books. Ferg reckons they're probably having an argument, a married couple, probably not talking to each other, just staring off. Scratch on the head. Okay, that's beautiful. So let's move up a little bit and get a similar backdrop with some lions in it. What do you folks reckon? Nix thinks so. Going to be joined by a school drive in about 2 minutes, which is very exciting. I thought it was a public holiday all over the world on Easter Monday. And here they are. Sure, we almost missed them if they weren't lying in the road. How's that, Ferg? There they are, lying flat. Isn't that gorgeous? The lions are looking all in the other direction. So I think they've just seen so many sunsets in their life that doesn't seem to bother them too much. Okay, that's exactly what Ferg's saying, that we don't all wake up for the sunrise. So the lions sleep through every sunset and they wake up shortly afterwards. It's the beginning of their day, the sunrise or the sunset. And they found themselves a very nice, comfortable spot on the sandy road. There's a very brave Franklin moving in on the right there. I wonder if it's going to be spotted. It has been spotted by the youngster. Just right there, Ferg, right there. You got him, eh? The one youngster spotted him. I don't think he's making too much of a move. A very brave Franklin. I saw the Unkuhumas spring to action the other day before I went on leave. Spring to action and chase a family of dwarf mongoose. It was really quite comical. As they jumped and pounced and landed on the hole that mongooses had gone into, and then sort of both their paws on the hole, and they like kind of lifted one paw to see if they'd caught anything. There's something I would have expected from the cubs, but actually saw the adults doing it. So shame. The one youngster that's actually looking at the Franklin is the one with the injured eye. And the eye was a little bit open a moment ago, but it looks very sore. Ferg and I were commenting on it this morning, and there's a sort of like a blood residue or like a seeping. Oh, ow. Need some eye drops or something. It's very sore. How uncomfortable that is. Okay, well, we're going to go back over to Tristan with Tundi, and we're back with you soon.
Well, indeed, we are with the magnificent Tundi, who's still busy scent marking, as you can see. Now, it is that time of the afternoon where we need to welcome the school that is joining us for the afternoon on this beautiful Monday afternoon here in South Africa and a Monday morning there in the United States. So, Jefferson Elementary, it's wonderful to have you all with us. My name is Tristan. On camera today, we've got VM, and we are coming to you live from South Africa, which means that we want to hear from all of you. So, you must ask lots and lots of questions, and you can send your questions to your teacher, and your teacher will send them through to us. Now, our leopard that is moving over here is an epic female leopard that we've got. She is our most dominant female in the area, the one that we see probably the most normally. Lately it's been a bit different because there is a new male leopard that has been in the area that has been chasing her around because she has a cub, and what she's doing at the moment, she's not playing with the trees, is she's actually scent marking. So she's urinating, spraying her urine and rubbing her scent by using glands on her face all over the trees and making sure that any other leopard that walks here will know that she's been here. So that's what she's busy doing. Now, she's walked a long way today, and it's going to be difficult for us to try and keep up with her, so we're going to try and do that and try and see how far we can go. Unfortunately, it's going to get very thick in here in about 2 minutes, and it's going to become really difficult to try and follow her. Now, Jacob, the reason there's so many trees in our savanna is because we are in a type of savanna called a mixed woodland savanna. And so this is an area where lots of trees grow. Not all savannas are only grass and no trees, and it's why we're seeing a leopard. If we had a situation where we had only grass, leopards don't really like that, and they prefer treed areas. And so in this part of the world, we have a soil type as well as a type of water. Lots of water that we have here allows for trees to grow, which allows for dense, thick areas like this, and for us to be able to see a leopard. Now, she's chasing something. Hold on. Seems as though she's spotted something that she's busy chasing around. So I'm trying to get to where she is. It's just very difficult through all of these thickets. There she is right there. So I don't know what... Oh, she's chasing a scrub hare. Look, the scrub hare is right in front of us. So the scrub hare doesn't know that she's here. Look, there's the scrub hare, and she's about 5 meters away. So what she's going to do is she's going to stalk, and she's going to get herself into a position where she's going to camouflage. And that's why she has spots, is to camouflage. It's called cryptic coloration or cryptic camouflage, and that means to hide away. And so her spots break up her outline. Look, she's sneaking forward, and that scrub hare, if it doesn't know what it's doing, is going to get itself into a situation where she might grab it. So we're going to have to be patient, and we're going to keep our voices down, because we don't want to disturb the scrub hare or the leopard. But she's very close. She's maybe 5 meters or so from that scrub hare. And the scrub hare, look, is no idea the leopard is there. Let's see. Now, last time we saw her with a meal was one of these scrub hares. Let's see if she's able to hunt it. Now, she's just being patient. Leopards are the masters of being patient. See how she's sitting so still. She knows that any little bit of movement, any little sound could make the scrub hare run away. And the scrub hare is very fast, so she's trying to keep herself as still as possible, but to try and edge closer with her legs. And she's got a special way that she can walk called leopard crawl. Now, leopard crawl, you might have heard it before, is when an animal, or even us, we get low to the ground, and what she's doing, look at how slowly she's moving. Isn't this cool? Now, it's not every day you get to see a leopard stalking slowly through the bush like this. It's very cool. So I was saying what happens with leopard crawl is that they have collarbones. Now, a collarbone is a bone that is on your shoulder. So if you go and you touch on your shoulder towards your neck, there's a bone that runs there. Now, that's the collarbone. Now, with a leopard, they've got what's called a floating collarbone. And so that allows... Oh, there goes the scrub hare. No, so she's unfortunately not going to catch that. The scrub hare heard her coming and has run away, and so she'll carry on walking now. You see how she's changed her way. Now, leopards can run at about 60 to 70 kilometers an hour, depending on the terrain. And so this which is in miles. It's about 30 miles an hour that she can go. So she's not the fastest of cats. The things like the cheetah and the lions are much faster than what she is. She's an animal that is designed for power. So she's able to catch things and pull them up into the trees and then hang it in there. And also it's designed to wrestle with really large animals. So leopard is power, whereas a cheetah is the very fast one. So, Pedro, you were asking if she was going to catch the scrub hare. If she could, she would. She was hunting it. She just unfortunately didn't make her move fast enough, and the scrub hare got away from her. Good. Well, we're going to try and keep up with her. She's going into an impossible place. I don't know if we're going to be able to keep going and still see her. And so while we do that, let's send you across to my friend Steve so he can say hello to all of you. And he's also got another big cat to show you.
Hello, Jefferson Elementary. Welcome to Safari Live. I hope you are having a great start to your afternoon or morning it must be for you. We have got lions, the largest cats in Africa. And we don't have one lion. We have got a pride of lions that are called the Nkuhuma Pride. And there are 11 of them currently here. And as you can see, they are very sleepy and very tired and very, very full of meat from 2 days ago. My name is Steve Falconbridge. Welcome to the show. I'm joined by Fergus on camera, and we are out here this afternoon to show you the wonders of the savannah and the South African wilderness. And we are going to start, as you can see, with lions. You're very fortunate to have been shown a leopard first up. It's very, very special to see leopards. And here we've got a pride of lions that only 2 days ago, is it 2 days? 2 days ago, yesterday killed a kudu. Hello, Hannah. You want to know how animals help each other stay alive or to survive? Well, a pride of lions, if we're going to talk about these guys, they live in a family, and the family is responsible for moving around together, defending a territory, and they'll also hunt together to take down bigger animals. And because lions, as you probably know, eat meat. So if they work as a team, they're able to take down bigger meat, which means they don't have to hunt as often. Because when an animal, the animals out here can be quite big and quite dangerous. And if a lion tries to tackle them on its own, they could potentially get kicked in the head or injured or damaged in some way. And if they're on their own, they can really struggle. In this pride, there's one of the females has got a blind eye, which is probably from a fight. This youngster here, look at its eye. You see its right eye. It's very badly injured. We don't know what happened. It's possible that a male lion came in and there was a bit of a fight, and we don't know. We didn't see it. It's also possible while they were feeding, it got a nail in the eye. We hope it gets better. And one of the other females in the pride, I can't see her now, but she had a very bad wound on her bottom, which has healed very, very nicely. It was looking very, very bad only a few months ago. And if she didn't have her sisters to help her hunt, she would probably not have done very well. And as you can see, the lions are lying in the road. They don't care about the road, and they're enjoying the comfort that it has to offer as the evening sets in and the sun sets in the west. But on that note, we're going to go over to my friend Brent Leo Smith, who's got an amazing bird of prey.
We do have an amazing bird indeed. It is called an African fish eagle, and it eats and hunts fish, which means we are next to a big waterhole. There we go. Isn't that beautiful? What a lovely evening. Let me just move a little bit further forward so I can show you some hippos. Now, for those of you who didn't hear Tristan, my name is Brent. I have Craig on camera, and we are at the beautiful Chitwa Dam, which is right in front of the beautiful Chitwa Lodge. Oh, there's a little baby hippo over there. Let's go to that one. Okay, let's have a look here now. We've got some hippos, we've got some geese. Now, sometimes around the big water holes like this, we get quite a lot of migratory animals, Naomi, but they're mostly birds. Now, most of the mammals have a very small migration. Oh. Oh, hang on, I can hear some... Speaking of birds... I can hear some guinea fowls making lots of noise behind me. Oh, look at the... And there's some water back there as well. Sometimes when guinea fowls make noise like that, that means there could be a leopard around. There's a female waterbuck snoozing right next to us. The water holes are always very busy. And the little hippos are busy. The little hippos are busy playing. They're getting ready to go out of the water. So hippos live in the water during the day, and at night time they'll come out of the water to go eat grass. Now we'll come back to the hippos in a second. Jacob, yes, people can visit, and you can come stay right at this very safari lodge, which is to the left of us here, called Chitwa Chitwa. And there we go. It's a beautiful, beautiful luxury safari lodge right on the banks of this magnificent waterhole. Okay, I'm just going to try to straighten the car a little bit for Craig. I've parked at a very bad spot for him. Is that better, Craigie? Oh, look at this. Look at these little hippos. Did you hear that? That was a hippo talking. Now, an animal that talks not nearly as much as a hippo is a leopard. So let's go see what Tundi's up to.
Exactly, Brent. Leopards are the silent kind of masters of the bush, and so they like to keep as quiet as possible when moving through these places, because they don't want to give themselves away and make anybody know that they're here. So they're the kind of quiet animal that just slinks around. Now we're going to try and be as quiet as we can while we follow her, because we don't want to disrupt her in any way, but she's moving so fast it's making life very difficult. So Ali, she does walk in the grass without making any noise. Well, how she does it is because she's got very specialized feet. So she's got different feet to what we've got. We've got kind of, I suppose our feet would actually work really well too. It's just that we wear shoes, and shoes have hard soles, and that makes them very, very noisy. But with a leopard, and even with us, if you had to look at your hand, it's soft, isn't it? And so if you push it, it makes kind of a soft sound. Now, next time you're in grass, if you put your hand on the grass softly and gently and just do that, you'll feel that you'll hear that it doesn't make any sound. So leopards have soft pads with lots of hair around them, and that softens the sound. It dampens the sound, which means that it makes less sound, and so that's how they can move through very quietly. Also, leopards are very kind of patient animals, and they're very aware of what they're doing in their environment, and so they look very carefully where they're putting their feet. They're not like us, where we'll stomp our feet through and hit branches and leaves. These guys will look and make sure that their feet are going into places where there's not too many leaves and won't make too much noise. There goes another scrub hare. That's what gave her a little bit of a fright. So she's looking for scrub hares, and what she's doing is she's going from So, Bryson, leopards, it depends if we're talking about male or female leopards, but a leopard like this female over here, female leopards generally will get to anywhere between 60 pounds and 100 pounds, generally around there, sometimes even a little bit more, 110 pounds, and males, they can get anywhere from 100 pounds all the way to 200 pounds, which is quite large. So they do get very, very big, the males. And the thing is, why there's such a big difference between the sort of sizes is because some leopards that occur in places like this where there's lots of food get very, very big, but other leopards that occur in mountains, like the ones that occur down in Cape Town, which is in the southern part of South Africa, those leopards survive off much smaller food items like birds and squirrels, and so they can't grow as large as the ones here. Right, she's carried on and moved off, and so while I try catch up with her, let's send you back across to Steve and those tawny cats, and I wonder if they've woken up.
They have not yet woken up. One of them has got their head up and doing a bit of licking. There's the yawn. Generally what happens after they yawn is they'll stand up, have a little bit of a toilet break, and then they start moving. But that generally works with the adults. That is not an adult there. But as you saw, how Tristan has lost, look at those teeth. Wow. How Tristan has lost sight of Tundi, that beautiful leopard. Very easy to lose a lion as well. There we go. See how it stands up. Look at the cat stretch. Those of you who know anything about yoga, that was the cat stretch. But with the lion, when they walk, look how easily you can see the back of the ears and the tip of the tail. Now, they might have a little bit of fun. There's 6 youngsters in this. They might jump around. Hello, Carter. Good question. Lions, female lions, can live for about 13, maybe 14 years, maybe 15 years in the wild. Males generally live up to about 10, 11, maximum 12 years old, but generally 10, 11 is kind of where they reach to in the wild, the males, purely because of all the competition with other males and because they fight a lot. Females, because they're in a pride structure like this, can generally get by for a little bit longer, even when they get quite old, because the youngsters will feed them or hunt for them, and they'll get some food, and eventually they'll just succumb to illness or to age. But that is the general kind of rule. You can see they're becoming quite playful. He wants it to wake up now. Oh, there we go. Hello, Trinity. You want to know how fast lions run? And lions over a short distance. So from where we are to the lions now, they can cover that distance in probably about a second at full charging speed. So they can move at about 22 feet a second initially in the first little sort of run. But if I work that out in kilometers and miles per hour when they run, they can run at about maybe 45, plus minus 45 kilometers an hour, or miles an hour, sorry, 45 miles an hour at top speed, which is pretty quick, I think. But they're not designed for distance running. They're designed for walking like the leopard very quietly in the long grass and getting as close as they can to their prey, because they're quite camouflaged as well, and then with very powerful and fast acceleration, then can take off, and with their very powerful body and claws and arms can pull down quite large prey if they can get to it in time. But quite often the prey have got very big ears, very good nostrils, very good at picking out where the lion is approaching from, and will often try and get away. There's their life at stake. And can you see just at the back there, Fergie, those lions are starting to have a little bit of a play. There we go. They're starting to wake up, and it's time to have a bit of fun and games. And what we see as play is very important for lions. Exactly what I was talking about now. Let's see if it gets the other individual to jump up. But you see how they use their claws, see how the mouth went for the throat there. It was a bit too much effort, that. Here we go. It's not over yet. So all this play that we see is very important for them when it comes to hunting. Have a look at what they're doing now. That is how they would fight with each other when they're older. See, the ears are very flat. They go quite low to the ground. Chastity, normally lions have between 2 and 3 cubs, sometimes 4, but the most I think's been recorded is about 6 for one lioness at a time. But what happens in lions is that the females will fall pregnant at the same time. So if there's 4 females, quite often all 4 might fall pregnant at the same time, which means you can get up to 15 or so, 12, 15 cubs in the pride at one time. But there's a very low survival rate in lions. They don't have a very good survival. I think it's, if you get 6 cubs, chances of 2 doing very well are probably an average. Any more than that, it's all about the success of the pride, how strong they are, how successful they are at feeding. Okay, well, these lions are slowly waking up, and if they get up and do anything more exciting, we'll come straight back. But let's go over to Brent, who's sitting with some water.
Well, we're still sitting, just enjoying some spectacular scenes here next to Chitwa Chitwa. Look at the little one playing, jumping, getting ready to go out of the water for a busy night feeding with Mom. It's often my favorite time of the day to just sit quietly with hippos. Now, you can't see it yet, but if one of the big hippos opens its mouth, and it's got massive big teeth that can chomp a lion in half, and that's how they protect their families. Oh, look at that, isn't that cute? Isn't that wonderful? Zoe, we're at the end of summer at the moment, and the weather is actually wonderful. It was about 86 degrees today, and probably you'll get down to about 60 something tonight. So very, very beautiful weather at this time of the year. Well, there we go. That one doesn't have big teeth yet. It's still a bubba. There's a little creche of hippos here. All the hippos here are quite young. Oh, there was one showing its big teeth, but it's gone under the water. Yes, Jacob, hippos can be very, very dangerous, especially if you get stuck between them and the water at night. You have to be very careful around hippos when they're at night time, when they're out of the water. When they're in the water like this, they're fine. Oh, there we go. That one's got a bit bigger teeth. Well, they're just playing nicely tonight. Now, those guinea fowl are still making a racket behind me. I wonder if there's another leopard around here. No, there's an eagle in the tree. That's what they're shouting at. So, there we go. That's why they're upset. They're worried about the fish eagle trying to eat them. Okay, well, we're going to send you back to a leopard with Tristan while I see what else is about around the dam.
Indeed, but you see our leopard has changed color, and the reason why our leopard has changed color is because we are in a very special mode on the camera called infrared. Now, infrared allows us to watch this leopard without having to disturb it by putting lights on it. So we're able to see the leopard in the dark, and we can see what it gets up to, but we don't have to shine a light on it, which means that we don't have a situation where we are interrupting the leopard's behavior and showing it to any of the animals that are out here at night, because there are things like kudus and impalas and all these type of antelopes that the leopard likes to eat and hunt, and if we were to put lights on it, then they'll spot her very easily, and it'll make it very difficult for her to hunt. So we can now follow her without having to worry at all about hunting and, well, disturbing anything that's going on. So we're just following her along. She seems as though she's still kind of scent marking and is not really that interested in hunting at the moment. We had some kudu, which is a type of antelope, a very big antelope that we're walking around, and she watched them for a bit and then she just kind of carried on. So I think it's a situation where she's not really interested in hunting. She's more trying to mark territory. Now, Brianna, the leopards have such long tails because they are climbing cats. So they go up into trees, and that means that they have to balance when they're up in trees. Also, when they're chasing, they have to turn very quickly. And so those long tails help to be able to basically keep the cat balanced in the tree and also balanced while hunting, that they can then grab on to the sort of prey that they are chasing. So that's why it's important that they have nice long tails. What I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and get a sort of view from the front and be able to show you what she looks like from the front. And how I'm going to do that is I've got to go around her. So we're going to give somebody else a chance to see her, and we're going to shoot around. So I'm just going to peel off this way, and while I do that, let's send you back across to Steve with the lions, and I hope that they're going to get up and start walking like the leopard.
Yes, so do I, Tristan. We are back with our puddle of lions, as I called it this morning. The youngsters are definitely getting more energized. The adults still want their Monday evening sleep in. They are three youngsters that have been playing with each other and chewing on a few sticks. But you can see how easily they are seen by those black spots on the ears. Do you agree? If they turn their head, they're not as easily seen. So it's that black on the tawny color, that contrast, that makes it very easy for them to follow each other through the long grass when they are hunting. And that goes back to how they look after each other by assisting each other with almost non-verbal communication. They focus on something. You can see that lion on the right. It's kind of looking one direction. If it was intent on something, those ears would be cocked and looking in the same direction. And then any animal walking behind would see those and know exactly what the intention is of that individual. But see the difference of the frontal and the back of a lion. So you can now see, you wouldn't really see a lion looking at you in the long grass if it didn't pop its head up. Thankfully they do when we're walking. And if you do get too close, they might make a little bit of a growl. Asai, what is the difference or similarities between lions and leopards? They are very similar. Leopards are far smaller. Leopards get up to maximum about 180 pounds, maybe 190 pounds, whereas a lioness, a female lion, can get up to 300 pounds around there, I'm thinking. Yeah, just under 300 pounds. So the size is a huge difference. Lions don't have any spots. They are tawny. Even though the youngsters do, you can see just on the back legs there are some spots on them, but they've evolved to be more in an open system, so they don't have the spots. They've kind of lost them, whereas the leopards have kept the spots. And then the lions form prides when leopards do not form prides. But other than that, they are in the same family. Panthera, because of the ability to roar. The lion does the proper loud kind of noise, whereas the leopard does more of a sawing motion. It sounds like you are chopping wood with a bow saw. So I hope that answers your question. Devon, lions hunt first of all by getting up, walking in a direction that they choose to go in. Quite often, from my experience, the wind will be sort of coming across the way that they're walking. So they kind of cut across the wind. And then when they smell something, so they'll walk along a road or a game path or something that makes very little noise when they walk. And then when they smell something or hear something in a favorable direction, they'll then turn in that direction and start moving towards it. Lions can see in the pitch blackness. Their eyes are adapted for seeing in pitch black, which enables them to hunt at night. So they will stalk, get as close as they can to an animal, and then try and bring it down. The benefit of a lion being in a pride is that they can often run around and chase the prey animal, be it a zebra or an impala, back towards sort of waiting lions. And you can often see this when you're following them, as I said before, with their ears. If the one individual picks up the intention of the one in front, you'll quite often see one or two will run around towards the sides to try and chase whatever animal back towards the waiting females. So it is the adult females that do the hunting, and the males who don't spend too much time with the pride can hunt, but will quite often take a lot of the food from the females that have done a lot of the work. Talking about females and beautiful females at that, let's go back over to that beautiful leopardess.
Well, our leopard, unfortunately, has just gone into the thickets and gone away from us, and so I don't know how much longer we're going to be able to see her. Unfortunately, in here is as difficult as it gets when following an animal. In fact, I've lost her already. I can't even see where she's gone. I'm going to have to get my spotlight out because otherwise I'm going to struggle to find her. Where did she go? Now, she's probably heading towards a certain pan. Oh, there she is, right here. She's just in front of me. So you can see how difficult it becomes to see her. Look at how she disappears in the long grass. So she's kind of just moving in front of me, and I'll stop here so that we can actually see her kind of going and moving a little bit away from us. But like I say, she goes through here. There might be a situation where we're not going to be able to keep her for much longer. We're going to try our very best, though. So, Charlie, you are inquiring as to why a spotted coat helps a leopard while hiding. Well, look at that, Charlie. Watch when it goes through the grass and when there's a few trees. See that? It goes away immediately. And the reason why is because they have these spots break up the outline. And so when they're in thickets where there's trees, there is what's called dappled light. So dappled light is where there is bright light and dark light. Bright light, dark light. So if you're in a shadow and you put your arm into the sun, you'll see that you've got bright sunlight and then you've got shade. Now, with a leopard, because they spend a lot of time in those areas, they need to have some dark and some light, which helps to blend and helps to look the same as what they're walking in or sitting in, and that's why they have the spotted coat and why it works so well. Now, where did she go? I've lost her already. She seems to have already gotten away from me. VM, can you see her? No, so VM can't see her. I can't see her. So I don't know which way she went. She was here 2 seconds ago, and now she's gone. So I'll just try and see if I can find her. While I have a little look, let's send you back across to Steve and the lions, who are being a lot more cooperative than our leopard.
Yes, they are. And it's that easy, boys and girls. I've spent time following a leopard, and they just disappear when they want to. And with the grass being as long as it is at the moment, and the leopard being as short as they are at the moment, not that they're going to get any taller than that, but it makes it very hard to follow and to find them, especially when the light fades. But I'm no doubt Tristan will manage to have another go there. We do have some heads up at the back there, Ferg, rather than this female who is just chilling. Let's see if we can get them. There we go. A couple of the youngsters are doing their grooming and ablutions. Lily, you want to know why the lions are so playful, and it's very important for them to be playful because they spend their time together in this family and they learn how to hunt. Now, what we see as play is actually just practice for when they get older and they need to hunt. Just like when I grew up, I did a lot of play fighting with my brother. And not that I ever wanted to box or be a boxer when I was older, but by playing when you're younger, you get better and you learn all the techniques of how to fight and how to sort of defend yourself. And then when you go and you box against someone like Mike Tyson, you at least have a semblance of a chance. Not that I would have any chance, but they need to play. It strengthens their hunting skills. It strengthens their speed, their tackles. Quite often, and we've spent time with these lions, you'll see the youngsters running and tackling each other like they would an antelope, tackling like they would a buffalo, pulling them down, attacking them with their claws, biting them on the neck. It's all pretty soft, but it gets tougher and harder and more sort of physical as they get older. McKenna, a pride is made up of mainly females and their offspring, and there's one young male in this pride. He's quite young. He's only about 16 months old, 17 months now, I think. But as soon as he becomes sort of a breeding age, he'll get pushed out. So what you get is you get other males that basically patrol a much bigger area than these females, and they move between the females just for breeding, just for having babies, that's all. And they look after those females, but they don't spend too much time with them. They kind of look after the area that the females are inside. And so the females move together by themselves, and when the males are here with them, the males do a lot more of the eating than the females do. So the females don't often enjoy having them around because they're much bigger and stronger and have a much bigger belly. Well, we're having a fantastic evening with cats. Let's go over to Brent and see what he's found.
No worries, sorry about all the lights. Sorry about that, everyone. We just bumped into a leopard. There's a car just going past. There we go. It is a young male leopard called Hosanna. And we were just driving down the road and he stepped out of the road in front of us. That was exciting. I was hoping to see another leopard today. Okay, let's keep up with him. So it looks like he's going to cross where this car can't drive, so that's why I was letting him go in front of me. We all work together to find the animals out here. Now, Naomi, it is a very, very big park. In total, it's part of a 5 million acre unfenced ecosystem, but the park we're in at the moment is 60,000 hectares, which is about 120,000 acres. So unfortunately, if I go down where he is now, my signal's going to disappear. So I need to cross through this deep gully here to the other side, and then we'll be able to see him again. So while we go try catch up with the leopard again, let's go back to Steve and the lions.
Oh, too late, Well, we are still here with our puddle of lions, and not too much is happening in the way of movement, apart from the youngsters at the back playing with some of their toys. I'm sure they are eager to get up, but the pride did kill a kudu yesterday morning, and it's amazing to see how their bellies now have distended. They've gone in. This morning alone, their bellies were sat higher than their hips. You see that? You see how low the belly is there? It was sitting much higher than the hip. And last night it was sitting double that. So these animals are very, very full. Can you actually see? That is the one with the wound, isn't it? And you see just on the left of the screen there, maybe... There it is. That is the wound that this animal had inflicted on it. We don't know what happened, but it was a ghastly wound a few months ago. And the viewers back home have been watching, and they've taken photos, and the wound has gotten better and better and better. And with this marvelous amount of kudu that these lions had yesterday, it will do her very, very good. Lots and lots of protein, heal all her muscles and her injuries. And lions, they are very resilient to being injured. And whenever they do have an injury, their saliva works very well in cleaning it. They do lots of licking of the sore spots. But they are very sleepy. Devon, how big is a pride? Most prides can be anywhere from 2 up to 40 animals. It really depends on the dynamics at the time. But, you know, here we've got 11. The Styx pride, Fergie, can you remember the number? I haven't seen them in so long. I think they're on 16 or something. Maybe you can help me there, Nix. But prides can be anywhere from a small number up to a large number. And the problem is as they get up to larger numbers, then the prey animals that they kill to feed become too small for them to sustain themselves. And then you can often get large prides sort of splintering and moving in different directions as a few females take their youngsters and they both leave. Because it's very difficult to share meat with 30 animals. Even 25 animals is a lot. Okay, it looks like Brent has managed to sort out his technical issues. Let's go back over to him and that beautiful male leopard.
Now we are sitting in the bottom of a riverbed with this young male leopard. He's just over 2 years old. Can you believe we've been following him since he was a few hours old, was the first time we saw this little leopard. And that's the amazing thing about spending so much time out here, is that we get to follow the lives and watch them fall asleep in front of us like he's doing at the moment, you lazy kitty. Now, his mom is the same mom as the leopard you've been seeing with Tristan. So that's his half-sister, Tundi. Now, like the lions, leopards have excellent night vision, Maclara, and they can see about 6 to 7 times better than we can. So at the moment, I can't see him, and I know Tristan's probably told you about infrared. He can probably see similarly to what the infrared lights can. He also doesn't see in color. He sees in probably almost very, very similar to what we're seeing in the camera at the moment, except probably not as sharp. Very peaceful here. Good question, Casper. Bite force of a leopard, if I remember correctly, is around 400 or 500 pounds of pressure per square inch. I'm a bit rusty, but I think it's around there. Maybe Tristan knows. I think I've forgotten. Obviously, it also depends on the size of the leopard. Okay. No, Nick, that's not. That's sorry.